you don't mind.
Sweet.
I like I'm a chat bot. I like the chat.
You like the chat, man? I find it hard to monitor the chat. Like when I'm streaming, I find it hard to monitor the chat when people are watching, and then I'm trying to concentrate on like my diagram or stuff like that. Then anyway, we've got some people watching. What's going on, guys?
Hey guys.
This is a really exciting stream. Like this is something I've been wanting to do for so long. Big fan of pTGC ecosystem and also obviously ELMNT and these two different ecosystems we have. So having someone like Prairie Banana on here to talk about this stuff with me is super exciting, man. This is really sick stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, man, I'm excited to do this.
Me too. I've been looking forward to this. You know, not only as a holder of ELMNT to learn a little bit about, you know, the especially the recent changes that are coming, but you know, to also to share with the people on Ethereum side what's been happening over on Pulsechain, you know. So yeah, and we are if we're not each holders of both tokens, we're at least we have some affection toward them. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah, of course.
It's like as we were talking about in the green room. We both have an interest. We have an interest in the success of each of these tokens.
100%, massive interest. Yeah, I've been in the Pulsechain community for a long time. Like I just haven't been active in it the way I'm active in TitanX. So
you only have so much time.
Because things are gonna get wild soon, I presume. We've got Zed in the chat. We've got Wildin. What's going on, guys? Let's go. That's not Wildin, is it? I don't know. My eyes sometimes don't work.
That's Willie.
Love both of these projects. ELMNT has some catching up to do. Yeah, we're gonna get into all this today. As you know, guys, I've like got some diagrams ready, and I think Prairie Banana has some stuff he wants to show as well. So we've got a lot to get through today. We'll try and get it through it all in like sufficient time, but we'll see what goes on.
It's just plan for long. Plan for long.
Yeah. What's going on, Kata Gatami? He's my little jiu-jitsu friend here in the chat. Let's go.
Thank you, Kat. I appreciate that.
Yeah. This guy's active on the Telegram as well. I see him in the Telegram.
Yeah, I've never. I'm in the Telegram. I think I see every post in that our Telegram.
Yeah. But, yeah.
One thing I wanted to go.
Sure.
One thing I wanted to like hit on is that, and this is something that's going by in the back of my mind whenever I think about the price of ELMNT, is that, you know, what did Dragon X do in its first few months? It was down and to the right.
Yeah.
And the people that bought the tokens when it was at the bottom, you know, have done incredible gains. Even today, I think I haven't looked at the chart in a while, but I imagine they've done even today. And I suspect the same thing might be happening with ELMNT.
I expect the same thing, 100%. I mean, bro, like I remember like those times. Dragon X, everyone said it was a failed project. Like the FUD was crazy because back then, everyone thought that when day 280 comes, the whole ecosystem is going to go down like even further. Everyone was like, this is going to crash. Like everyone was depressed. Like those were hard times. But people who, you know, stayed strong, they understood the fundamentals, they believed in the protocols, they were stacking Dragon X at those low ratios. I mean, Dragon X was below a 1-to-1 ratio with TitanX at one point. It was like below that. Like it's like where ELMNT is now. You know, it's like it's just crazy. You know what happened, and then everyone knows the rest
opposite is history. Happened of what we all suspected would happen. The complete. This is crypto, and weird things happen. You know.
Yeah.
So you just got to get ready.
The markets, they don't act logically in crypto.
Right.
That's what you learn in this game. They don't act logically. It's super emotional. You know, you see every day. You see people with big bags. Like I will see people with like hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions. And I'm thinking, if I had that money, like I'm just keeping it safe, like playing some safe plays, blah blah blah. They smack it into some meme coin, and then they lose the whole thing in 2 days. You know.
Oh man,
it's a rough game, man. The trenches are rough. So
it happens. This is the wild west of crypto. I think a decade from now, things will look a lot different. It'll be safer for people, you know, just getting started.
I definitely think that this is the wild west of crypto. About who knows, in 10 years time, 20 years time, the space will look super different. I think the space will look, I just think the space will look so different. I just think things will be more possibly less gains, but
yes,
you know, that's the sacrifice we get, you know.
Yep. I've gotten wrecked a few times.
Yeah.
You know, just making my own mistakes. It's all everything rests on me, right? It's easy to point the finger and say, how come the chart is red today? Well, have I bought the token today? You know, so everything rests on this old guy right here.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it.
I think definitely, like, I know everyone hears all the time, but just DCAing your bag is just a smart approach. If you are going to get a bag or something, just DCA those buy entries, because, you know, when it is a red day and you know you've got some spare cash to buy it, then you're happy, you know, you're chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one question I really wanted to ask you is, obviously you've been around in pTGC since the beginning.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
What did it look like in the start? Like how did it feel in the start? What was the conviction? Because back then it was unproven, right? Like it was just theory. So where did the conviction come from, and how did everything look at the start?
All right. I'm so happy to hear you say that I was there in the beginning, because it was launched on October 11th, 2023. So October, November, December. I entered at the end of January. So like almost 4 months after. And I thought, and I know I missed a lot of gains, but I got in. Crypto Kindness posted a picture of Axis Alive's membership in the Telegram group, and I had already heard about this Alien Tech pTGC token. And when I saw Axis Alive in the Telegram, I was like, I'm in. I got in, and I got some that day. I finally made my entry. And of course, you know, whenever you enter anything, you think you're like, well, I'm probably late. You know, it's all going to turn red now. And honestly, you know, just like any other crypto, we have our green days and our red days. Of course. But if you look at the chart, it's like incredibly green. Like if you zoom out and go back to our beginning, it's just like up and ridiculous to the right. And
it's such a beautiful graph, such an amazing graph.
I'm so thankful I entered. But so to back up a little bit, the founder is he goes by Zen, and he came out of nowhere, and he's still coming out of nowhere. You know, word is getting around. His project is becoming the elephant in the room that people aren't really talking about yet, but they will be.
Yeah.
But he came out of nowhere, and nobody knew him. So it has been a struggle to get pTGC in front of eyeballs that will take it serious.
Yeah.
And there was if you look, and you wanted I think you asked in the green room, you were talking about like volume and that sort of thing, not just price, because pTGC and UFO, they're both volume and volatility based protocols, just like ELMNT. So when we have volatility, that's when everybody gets happy, because we're all being paid, right? And we need that volume. Last summer, I always point to last summer because that's about the time frame when I'm referring to. We would have volume days in pTGC and UFO. UFO came out after pTGC, by the way. It came out in May of 2024.
Okay.
But we would have volume days in the tens of thousands, like maybe $8,000 in volume on pTGC. The next day, maybe 15. We'd have a 25. You know, wow, we had 100. But most of the time, it was just really low volume. And then, but recently, we've been having like many, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in volume per day on both tokens, in excess of $1 million in volume per day for both tokens.
It's crazy.
And it's rewarding the holders. The more volume there is, the more the holders are being rewarded. But the rewards at the same time, also the price is ticking up, right?
Yeah.
Because people are buying, some people are selling, but the token is so resilient. Some people sell, but more people buy. People are waiting to get in on this token because we have been educating the community about this tokens, and they're just like waiting for an entry. We got whales sitting on the sideline waiting for this token.
It's got that anti-gravity technology, bro. Doesn't want to go down.
Yes. So where I was getting at is the tokens that we earned, the few tokens that we were earning with the volume last summer.
Yeah.
As long as you held on to those tokens, you know, those tokens have increased by maybe, I'd have to look at the chart to see the number of X's we've done since last summer, but that's the number of X's that those tokens have increased in value by. So if you held those tokens, they've done, let's call it a 20X, you know, and so they're worth more now.
Than you're getting now, isn't it? Or is it around the same?
Well, you're getting more tokens when the price is low, because the contract is buying tokens off the market with low price and then distributing them to the holders. The higher the price goes, the less tokens you will get in that transaction, but the more value each of those tokens will have.
Exactly.
But the more tokens that you earned when the price was low, if you let them sit in your wallet, as the price increases, the value increases. You see, and that's the same thing happening over in ELMNT land.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell people the exact same thing with the NFTs and like earning the rewards. Right now, what you're earning, even if the dollar value is low, look at the amount of tokens you're earning, right? Like just look at the amount of tokens, and then imagine when this ecosystem does tick to the upside, the potential value of the tokens you're earning now is huge. That's why I'm not selling tokens right now. Like
I'm not selling at all.
I'm just collecting my rewards, man, because when things go up, that's obviously when you make the money. So why would you sell it now when it's worth less? Like it just makes more sense to hold it. So yeah, and that's a good point you said about when the price is higher, it doesn't necessarily mean you're earning more dollar value in like every month or every week or something, because the volume is what determines basically the dollar value you're making, right? And then when price can go up, that's really where you get huge dollar increase in your rewards. So that's one thing that I think people sometimes misunderstand. They think higher token price equals more USD rewards. It's not necessarily the case. Like if you had high token price but low volume, the rewards aren't going to be more than if you had the other way around, you know? So that's definitely a very important point. I've seen people misunderstand that in ELMNT, like in the telegrams and stuff. So I'm glad you brought that point up.
Yeah. Yep. It's a good one to keep in mind. You know, initially in ELMNT, what I've done is with my rewards, I did some LP, and now I'm just letting that ELMNT stack up. But I'll be quite honest, man. I'm a blunt guy. I'll tell you like it is. It's not worth very much right now. It's not worth very much right now. I mean, I could sell it and go ape into a meme coin, but then what's going to happen 6 months from today? I mean, those tokens could be worth a lot more.
A lot more.
So I'm just chilling. You know, I keep my job. I can do my work, and I hold my crypto and just wait. And if I get impatient, I just have to go. I just go clean the garage or something. You know.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
It's time in the market, bro. Just keep that time in the market. What Smoothie Crypto? What's up, guys? Perry in the house. Shout out to Smoothie Crypto, guys. This is so interesting. Smooth himself is launching a liquidity web token, so we've got future stuff we can always do, more collabs in the process. I've done the stream already looking over Blair, so that's really exciting. So Smooth, like, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by. It's good to have you.
Yeah, I watched a lot of your videos, Smoothing.
Smooth is a good guy.
Yeah. He reminds me of like a Midwest guy. You know, I don't know where he lives, but it just
Midwest. You know, I don't have much knowledge of like how people are in America in like different areas. So
just kind of the middle of the country, I think, is where that's where
it's interesting. Yeah, just doing his own thing, Because in the middle of Kochi, right, there's like way less population, isn't it? More on the sides.
Yes, most of the on the sides.
On the
West
sides.
side and the east side. The east side is where the most of the population is. I did want to make one comment that I overlooked.
Go on.
So last summer, when I told you guys that the volume was low and the price was just kind of ticking up, but there wasn't a whole lot. How about that? It looked like it looked kind of funny. There wasn't a whole lot of activity. I mean, sort of. I mean, it was good to actually looking back. It was a great time to dollar cost average in. Some of those slow times, there's a lesson in this. Those are the times to be scooping up tokens. But another thing that we were doing is pTGC has a DAO. And if we have time, I'll show you a slide that illustrates the power of this DAO.
Okay.
But what we were doing all that time, and RH tickers were on sale too at that time. Both hexes, pDie, Pulse, PulseX, Ink, Teddy Bear, all of those tokens were, going sideways along with the network token. But with each transaction on pTGC, part of the fee, the 2% of the 5% fee goes to the DAO. And what was the DAO doing with that money going into its treasury? But buying up those inexpensive RH tickers and pairing them with pTGC. And the same thing was happening with UFO, even though it's not a DAO. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not the same thing. With UFO, the users are providing the LP.
Yeah.
But pTGC's DAO was scooping up RH tickers and pairing them with pTGC at the bottom of Pulsechain. And there's, there may not be an opportunity for a token to do that on any chain. And when, listen, our LP web right now is worth about $50 million combined between pTGC and UFO. I think pTGC is 20 million. UFO is about 30 million. When Pulsechain revalues, and if it only does a 10x, that LP web will be worth $500 million just on a 10x, a $500 million web. And that's
crazy.
And that is the result of buying up tickers at the bottom of Pulsechain, ever since its inception, really. And we're still doing it.
You guys, I mean, that was, like you said, you won't be able to replicate that again, like having 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, how long solid months of time to just be buying up literally at the bottom of Pulse, PulseX, Hex, pDie, etc., buying up these super on sale prices and then building up these LPs. You're not going to get that time again. That time is gone. We're already in February, guys. It's 2025, right? The bear market, I know it feels like it's a bit slow right now, but the bear market's over. This is a bull market we're entering. So those times are gone, man. But that's interesting because I feel like ELMNT is in that kind of very similar time now. TitanX has bottomed and things are going sideways and things are going down and sideways and down and sideways. And ELMNT in the meantime is collecting the rewards, and they've added a bunch of thick LP and fight these crazy bottom prices, which with the Helios DAO. So I think ELMNT is in a very similar position to pTGC back when pTGC was just going down and sideways. But it was collecting all that LP and building. I often say to people in crypto, I have this philosophy that I apply from real life and I apply it into crypto as well. And my good friend Gata Katami will like this one because it's a thing from jiu-jitsu here, but it's submission before position before submission. In jiu-jitsu, you position yourself first before you get the submission. I won't be able to break someone's arm when I haven't got a position to break someone's arm. I have to get into a position first to apply the leverages on the body to break someone's arm, right? It's the same in crypto. The way I look at it is you want to position the coin first. So you want good LPs. You want all these things in position first before that crazy price action can come. Because let's say you have thin LP and the price goes crazy. Well, now it's not going to ever, no one's going to be able to get it out. token goes crazy, but there's thin LP. If you have good thick LP and you've been building these fundamentals, and then it skyrockets, it's like you've built your position and you catapult off it. And I feel like that's what we've seen pTGC do over on Pulsechain, with UFO as well. And I feel like, my personal opinions, I feel like ELMNT can do the same thing, or a similar thing over on the Ethereum TitanX ecosystem. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents there. Yeah, Katakatami knows, bro. It's good timing. All right, guys. Yeah, so you know what, and I'm glad you brought that up about the volume being low at the time, because one kind of FUD I've heard about ELMNT right now is, oh, ELMNT's trash, the volume sucks, the rewards suck, it's terrible, blah blah blah. And I see this in my streams, I see this on Twitter, you know, and it's kind of funny when people in pTGC say this to me, because firstly, like, I have no beef for pTGC, but like, these guys clearly weren't around back in the beginning, right? Like, they must have not been there when it itself was going sideways and things were slow, but that's when it's the best time to buy the coin. So yes. It's just one of those funny FUD points. I just don't understand it. Like, when people FUD the volume, we can explain the volume right now. The volume is low and the price is low simply because, obviously, if a token is an index of an ecosystem and the ecosystem is down, then how do you expect the token to be up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's as simple as that.
One of the things that we all face as crypto investors is we get all excited about a new token or something, and we catch the vision and we get our positions, and then sometimes there's a tendency to lose that vision and even exit the position into some other vision. You know, and I've noticed this in myself. And I forget the fundamentals about this token that I entered, and then I go, you know, wreck a bag. Who hasn't done that? But it's important to keep your ear to the ground, to watch streams like this, so you can get a refresh about, you know, the token that you're holding, that you got into because you saw how valuable it could potentially one day be. And so kudos to everybody that's here and paying attention.
Yeah,
really.
Welcome Utah. You've got Utah.
Yeah, Utah. I remember you from way back. And so, I mean, the people that are here paying attention right now, Jukes, are going to be the less likely to burn those NFTs. You know, let's just say what it is. People burn those
that's the thing.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, with the NFT stuff, like you were saying about when you invest in a project, like, you've got to believe in the fundamentals of the project. So for me, when I see people burning NFTs now, it just shows me these people are just short-minded. They got in during mint phase because volume was crazy, tax was high, so rewards were insane. And they just got in purely for that reason. And then as soon as things didn't work out that exact same way, they burnt NFT and exited, you know? Yeah. So I think my personal opinion is they're making a mistake. That's my personal opinion. But
yeah, I don't even know what all of my NFTs are worth right now, but I ain't touching them. I mean, it's like all or nothing, you know? And if it's all, crazy. Whoa, man. And if it's nothing, I'll shed a tear for a day and just pick up the pieces and move on. That'll be okay. But the reward is potentially very large. And so that the vision for ELMNT goes back to the vision for TitanX. Got that vision. I think I got that one locked in. I'm impressed with TitanX and DragonX and the whole ecosystem. I think we're just kind of waiting on Ethereum to make its move. Then when it does, things should pick up, I would imagine.
It's looking like it wants to move Ethereum right now. It's looking a little bit pumpy, isn't it? It kind of went up a little bit recently, like 4%.
Yeah, I haven't even looked really.
I think I think that's market manipulation of the prices, bro. I think they're keeping the prices low, and then they're just going to skyrocket them, like all the
that's a good point.
Banks and stuff like that. Like, they want to keep it low so they can get their bag now, like Ethereum, and they want to buy up now because that's what they're doing. They're literally buying Ethereum. Why is Trump buying Ethereum? Like, these people obviously know something's coming. So that's my opinion anyway.
There were some
Not so much
enormous
buys, but
Ethereum buys yesterday. Did you see them on Twitter?
yeah, like huge buys, like
Like
ridiculous.
75,000 Ethereum or something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Woo,
who's doing
baby.
who's doing that? Do you really think someone's doing that? Like, you
Just,
don't move that type of money without good reasons to move that type of money, you know? It's crazy.
yeah. Well, speaking of ELMNT, let's talk a little bit more about ELMNT.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've got the your
I've got a
charts,
little diagram stuff.
your diagrams. You're famous. I think I've seen those diagrams for a while, and they probably all came from you.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, man. I'm trying to do my best with them. Yeah, I grind out the diagrams, man. I grind out the diagrams. And just a quick one, Smoother Crypto. Let me know if you want me to pop on stream to explain a bit more. I'm totally cool with you coming on. Obviously, I think we're gonna get through what we got to get through first. And then if there's time at the end, then just jump on and we can talk about Flare and stuff like that. I'm down.
Yeah.
But first I'll just bring up my diagrams here. All right, you guys know me, you know, diagram man. What can I say? So
looks handwritten too.
it looks handwritten. It's not though. It's not. It looks it. It looks it, but it isn't, unfortunately. Okay, so what I've done with this, guys, is I wanted to break down the very fundamentals of the let me just hide this stuff. Can I hide it? Yeah. I wanted to break down the fundamentals of what the vision of these LP web tokens is. Because if I can break that down for you, then you can see how that vision fits into ELMNT 280, fits into pTGC, fits into other tokens like Flare, fits into UFO, Shogun, all these other tokens that are building out this vision. It's important to understand when you're building an LP web, like, what is the point of it? Why are we doing this? And we're going to get into that now. So what is an LP web? So you guys are familiar, like most tokens, they're just bonded to one other token, right? That's how usual most tokens are, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Obviously they have their own system, their own protocol, and it doesn't make sense to always have LP webs. Obviously that doesn't make any sense either. So, you know, tokens that just have one LP, there's no problem with that. I'm not here to bash them. That's fine. I'm invested in many that only have one LP. But basically, the way this works is there's something called LP bonding. People call it Hart's law and stuff like that as well. Essentially, the price of two tokens that are heavily bonded and trade against each other, it's going to track, basically. So when one token goes up, the other one goes up as well, if there's sufficient thick liquidity that bonds them. So essentially, there's a rule that we can derive from this, right? The thicker the LP bonding, the closer the price will follow. Okay, so if there's thick LP, the price of the two tokens, they follow more closely, right? So if you only have thin LP, right, like this is an example, right? If there's only two tokens in an LP with only one other token of this other token, that's barely anything. There's nothing. That's not, the price is not going to move at all, right? Like even if token B went up 1,000,000x, like I doubt this is going to change these because it's so thin. So there's not too much weight holding them together. Now this is a really funny picture, but this would be something that's obviously thicker. I can't draw out every single one, but you understand that this is thicker here than this one, right? I think this looks funny. This one here looks like I've drawn a bunch of like atoms or something with like physics. This is not physics class, guys, but this is something that's going to be thicker, right? And I'm sure everyone watching the stream understands why we need thick LP, right? Cool. So I am going to borrow an analogy, and I'm going to give credit to cryptographics for giving me this analogy. This is the balloon analogy. So shout out to cryptographics if he is watching this. I got this analogy of him, and it's a sick analogy. Like this made me understand LP webs on a different level.
Okay. I wrote it down as soon as I heard it. I was like, I am not going to forget this.
Yeah. But I went back to the same part of the video. I watched it like 3 times. I was like, damn, this thing is crazy. Okay, so what is this balloon analogy? Why have I drawn out TitanX from the balloon here with ELMNT? Like, what's going on? You can think of two tokens when they're bonded through an LP, like this analogy of having a balloon that's holding a rock. Now, I've drawn out ELMNT 280 here to make it easier. But if you have a balloon, okay, think of the size here of the balloon, or the amount of helium inside the balloon. think of that as the price of that one asset. Okay, so the balloon is an asset and the rock is an asset, and I'm showing you element here at TitanX. Now the size here of this balloon is going to be the price of TitanX in this scenario, right? And obviously the higher price TitanX, this is going to naturally drag up element 280 with it, okay? Because they're bonded together. So if you imagine a balloon in your mind and it's tied to a rock, and you pump that thing with a bunch of helium, it's going to float towards upwards more, okay? So think of that like price. The more price TitanX gets, then this is like, it's like automatically having demand for your token, because the price is going to go up because it's linked to one other token, right? So I think that's sufficient to understand. What does this mean in an LP web? Okay, so in an LP web, you have this situation where you have multiple different tokens. This is the exact same thing with pTGC. I'm just showing an element for the sake of the example, but you have multiple different tokens here, okay, and they're all their own individual balloons that hold up element 280. So when all of these tokens, start to pump up in price, it's giving more economic energy to push element 280 up with it. Okay, so that's the idea of an LP web, guys. I wanted to get into that. Do you have any thoughts on that, Prairie Banana?
No, you hit it just right. It's called Hart's Law.
Yeah.
Tokens bonded in liquidity together are going to move together. And that's a perfect illustration of how ELMNT, and then E280 on the other chain, starting with base, and then pTGC and UFO, they are LP web tokens. So
yeah, exactly.
They're going to move together.
That's how it works, man. It's literally, this stuff is so crazy to me because I feel like this stuff wasn't possible before, like Uniswap. Because they were like,
that's true.
It wasn't programmed into a smart contract. Like now it's programmed. I don't know if liquidity bonding works with stocks. I don't think it works, right? It doesn't make sense. It's not a thing people do. Not that I know. But I'm just thinking like this stuff is cutting edge. Like, it's just cutting edge stuff like of today's era because we have Uniswap and we have decentralized trading platforms and we have algorithms that govern liquidity pools. You have this almost feels like a miracle. Feels like a miracle to me.
And then one of the key things about these liquidity webs with these fee-based tokens is that every time there's an imbalance in one of the pairs, the AMM bots have to go in and balance out the pairs. Well, what happens? Well, they're buying and selling tokens to balance the pairs. And in the process, they're paying the fees. And the fees, the fees get distributed wherever they're supposed to be distributed by that smart contract. And if you're a holder of these tokens, some of those fees come to us.
Yeah.
Right. And there can even be bot activity on token pairs that are a one-off from the main pairs. Like you might have let's say ELMNT is bonded with Ethereum. Yeah. But then there's another pair of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that one goes off. Well, that pair with ELMNT and Ethereum needs to be balanced with the other pair. So it can kind of, it's like the web can become rather extensive.
Yeah. The web is absolutely insane. And one way I like to think of it, and I'll have a little section on this just in a bit, is by having this web, like this LP web, and especially when you're bonded to highly volatile assets, what you're doing is you're creating inherent demand into a protocol, because as soon as there's an arbitrage, bots are going to buy it. So it creates a demand to buy the token. And what that does is if we have almost inherent demand in the token, and then we can profit off that demand by paying the users who hold the token, that's where the magic of the tax comes in, So that's a sick thing that we've got.
Right. And so like one of the guys on our chat, in the pTGC chat, and made the observation the other day that he said he has, and he's one of those wallet guys that can like trace wallets and stuff, and he likes to do that. He's like, guys, I'm seeing these bots make $30,000 transactions on the Pulsechain. I mean, balancing a pair and adding $30,000 in volume to our chart. A bot
Crazy.
doing that.
Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
You know, and so we're fond of saying over in pTGC land, and I suppose the same would be true for ELMNT, that like we don't even technically need users because the bots are doing so much of the work.
Yeah.
You know, we like to have users because we want our friends and colleagues to be in on these little gems. You know,
I mean, if you're like, you know, if you're bullish on trading bots, like if you're one of those people that's into that type of stuff and you know how to build them yourself and how to get good ones, building trading bots for these pairs, I mean, it could potentially be very profitable for you. Like you have an incentive to do it, right? And it's a meritocracy thing, because if your bot is better than everyone else's bot, then you make more money. So it's, you know, the volume, as long as there's volume there and there's arbitrage to trade, there's a good incentive for people who are into that game. Like it speaks to people who are they don't even need to care about ELMNT or pTGC. They don't need to know what it is, but if they're into that game, it incentivizes them, because you've got volume and arbitrage. They can get their bots, do these huge 30 grand trades, and even if they're only making like $10 or $15, $20 per trade, like doing a bunch of those a day, they're making a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah,
that is true. Did you have Yeah, go ahead, man.
Was I sorry? No, that's good. What's up?
Do you have a pTGC web diagram too that you've built?
I actually haven't. I just showed this ELMNT one for the sake of thing here, but I guess in pTGC you would have the main tokens, from my understanding, would be like Hex, Pulse, PulseX, pDie, and Atropa or Teddy Bear.
Yep, both of those.
Like the main ones. Yeah. And so yeah, so I think that's the main thing there, and those tokens also bullish. So what happens when pDie pegs to $1? You know what I mean? Like,
I can show you on the calculator what'll happen to the price.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second, guys. We've got some we're gonna do some moon math in a bit. So look at this stuff. But basically what I wanted to show here was, okay, so cool, we've got an LP web, so why do we need the tax? I just explained it for you guys, but just to go through the diagram and build and just kind of drill this point home. LP webs create arbitrage. Okay, that's the first bubble here. Bots plus users trading the arb differences. Okay, it's going to happen because it's an arbitrage. So if we tax the trades, it allows the protocol to inherently benefit from the LP web. I just realized I misspelled inherently. Don't look at that. It happens. And then basically what we want is the believers in the protocol to benefit from this inherent arbitrage we're creating. Okay, and that's why we tax, because if you tax on buyers and sells, then everyone who's arbitraging is happy because they're making profit still, and also the core believers in the token are also happy. Okay, so just another example here from ELMNT. Like this is kind of what it looks like. You've got like ELMNT bonded to Titan. This is all like arbitrary numbers here, and just I've invented these numbers. But like obviously, if ELMNT is bonded to Titan and it has this price, and then it's bonded to Hyper and it's double the price there, then the user, we've got Mr. Shillington. Mr. Shillington's going to come in and buy ELMNT. He's going to pay a tax on that. He's going to buy it through the TitanX ELMNT pair, and then he's going to sell it and pay a tax on that as well in the Hyper ELMNT pair. Okay, and then sells Hyper for TitanX, and he makes more money. He just made profit. So he makes profit, but then he had to pay tax twice. So this is the exact same on pTGC. If he was holding pTGC here and he realized the price against Pulse was cheaper than the price against Hex because Hex just pumped, then he can buy it up in that cheaper pair and sell it in the expensive pair, and he pays 2 taxes, which benefits the pTGC holders, the stakers. It burns the token, it adds to the LP wallet, like the DAO, all this stuff, right? Like all this crazy stuff happens just because someone took profit or made profit on a trade.
Right.
So yeah.
Do you want to talk about what's
That's,
going to be going on in the future with us going over to base?
Yeah.
The highlight. Did you ever drop that tweet that you were going to put in E280 Telegram?
Which tweet?
You said you were going to make a tweet about, like a summary, because you had an interview with.
Oh yeah. I need to get to that. I've been busy. I've actually completely forgot about that, but I need to do, because I did it with ELMNT 280, and if you go to my Twitter page and you go to, or my x.com page and you go to my highlights, you'll see the ELMNT one. I need to do the same for E280, which is the omnichain element. All I've got to do is basically summarize our stream into a thread. So I need to get to that. So actually, thank you for reminding me about that one.
You're welcome. We both hold each other accountable. We all have to do it because we're so busy.
Do our work now. Yeah, we all got to do our work.
I'd almost like to have steer the conversation that direction, because I'm excited about what's happening. So let me give you my summary of what I understand is happening. So first, ELMNT is the token name for the Ethereum side.
Yeah.
The other when Dude launches it on the other networks, it's going to be called E280.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is that if anybody wants to have E280, remember that's on the other chains, they're going to have to burn an NFT from the Ethereum.
That's if they want to get their NFT. So if they want to be able to get the NFT onto the base chain, then they have to burn it on Ethereum.
Oh, just to get the NFT.
Just to get the NFT.
But isn't the NFT the source of the tokens also on the other chains?
The NFT would be the source of so the way it would work is the NFT will be burned, and then those tokens that come out of burning it, they will be minted into E280 and then back the new NFT that you now get onto E280 on base.
Yeah. Okay.
So are you familiar with like TitanX and X28?
No, I'm not.
And how it works? Okay.
Nope.
Okay. So basically,
I hold ELMNT, so I don't have to know a lot about the other.
Yeah.
And I support them all. I'm not against them, but I hold ELMNT for a reason.
Yeah.
Index token. It's the easy button.
Yeah, I'm with you. So basically, like with TitanX and X28, it's a very similar thing that we're seeing with ELMNT and E280. So you take your TitanX and you mint it 1-for-1 directly into X28. And then the way that's been set up is 50% of the TitanX that you put into the minter will go into the bind burn on X28. And then the other 50% of TitanX gets purely burned. Okay, so that's basically what that's the X28 is just the same as TitanX. It's just the omni-chain TitanX. So recently they did launch it on base. So now you can actually take your TitanX, you can mint X28, which is 1-to-1, and then you can put it on onto base chain. And there's an interesting situation where if the price does decorrelate and X28 drops below, then you have a little opportunity arbitrage where you can just buy X28 off the market instead of minting it, because you can get more for your TitanX. So ELMNT is going to work the same. So ELMNT with E280 is going to be a 1-to-1 mint. So the token, if you want to get an E280 token, you have to take your ELMNT tokens and then 1-to-1 mint E280.
Okay.
Yeah. And then basically this is going to feed into a bunch of different things. I'm gonna have to pull the diagram up that I made for that actually.
You're pretty handy with these diagrams, man.
Yeah, I've already got the diagram made for that one, bro. Basically with that, what happens is a percentage of the ELMNT will go into being burned, a percentage of it goes to the Helios DAO, and a percent goes into the LP manager. So are you familiar with the LP manager concept that dude brought with?
Yes. Yep. I listened to that stream like 3 different times.
Yeah. So that's a really sick thing. And then you get a percent of that ELMNT goes into bind burn on E280. And then I think another percent will go into NFT rewards. I believe that's like generally speaking the breakdown off the top of my head. So if you want to get E280, the token, you mint it on Ethereum, and then you can bridge the token into base. Okay, so this works omni-chain, so it's not like a traditional bridge. So there's like way less risk, and it just mints like 1-for-1 onto base chain. But to get the actual token, you mint 1-to-1 with ELMNT. So what this means is E280 has a cap supply based off ELMNT, basically. Like the supply can never be greater than the supply of ELMNT. So it's fully capped. And this is omni-chain. So this will go to base. This will go to plenty of other chains, you know?
Cool. I'm excited about that, man.
Yeah. And it's expanding the TitanX empire. Like as the empire of TitanX expands onto Base and all these other chains, then you have the index token for TitanX expanding with it. Okay, so it's going to go to Base first, then it's going to go to whatever chain is next. You know, it could be being Binance chain, it could be you know, Arbitrum or Avalanche Optimism. These are all EVM compatible chains. Hopefully Pulsechain soon. I don't know if Pulsechain is going to be layer 0 compatible, but if it is, then that'll be sick, and they can bridge it there as well. So there's a bunch of like cool stuff that can happen here for sure.
Yeah. I think.
And then,
sorry,
yeah, and then I was just gonna say, I think, and then the NFT game, it works like you have ELMNT NFTs, and this is so sick for ELMNT NFTs because you can mint them onto base. So the way this is going to launch is in phases. So phase 1 will just be ELMNT minting E280. But as this phase builds out, there's going to be a bunch of ELMNT that accumulates into this NFT rewards section. And what that's going to do is buy up E280 off the market, and then basically it's just going to build up. We're going to have a bunch of E280 here. And then when they do launch the NFT contract on base, that a percent of these NFT rewards will be claimable on base. But the only way to get those NFT rewards will be to burn your ELMNT NFT on Ethereum into an NFT on base chain for E280. So essentially, if no one burns, right, and you're the only person that burned, you could burn just a common NFT, but you get 100% shares on base, and you can get all those rewards. You see what I mean? So it creates this situation where you're almost forced, not through compulsion, but just through profit, because if there's profit to be made on E280 or base, then people will start to burn the ELMNT NFTs onto base. And this is great because these NFTs that are getting burned, now your shares on Ethereum go up with the ELMNT NFTs, but there's no token dumping because these tokens aren't going to be dumped onto market. They're going to be transferred onto base chain, essentially.
Right.
So it's super bullish, so much stuff going on here.
All right, I have a question for you.
Go on then.
How many NFTs do you think, not in a number, but give me a percentage of NFTs that you think are going to burn when you know between the time that dude launches on base and the time that he launches on the next chain, just in that interval, how many, what percentage of NFTs do you think are going to get burned?
Oh, that's a tough question, man. So you're saying when we get to base and then we get to another chain?
Yeah, like in the first week or whatever it is. How many NFTs do you think are going to burn in a percentage? I haven't. I can go first if you want.
I think, I don't know if I'm being ambitious with this assumption, but I have a feeling like it could be 2/5 of the current amount.
You said 2/5.
2/5 as a fraction. That would be a lot.
40%.
Yeah,
that's 40%.
Potentially, yeah. It all depends how bullish the base trade is and X28 or TitanX on base is, and then how much E280 gets minted.
Yep, we have Keto Natural took a guess in the chat. He said 5%. I was thinking last week. I was thinking like anywhere between 15 and 20%. Now I'm thinking more like 10 to 15%.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends like how much E280 gets minted, but at the end of the day, if there's profit to be made, people will burn it. Yeah. So if there's profit there and a bunch of people burn, because the shares is going to be so small, right? Because it's fully capped deflationary. The amount of NFTs that can exist is fully deflationary. So the shares is going to be capped, meaning you could easily get a 1% share over on base. Right?
Yeah, wow.
So what's going to happen there is still to be seen.
Yeah, I think a lot of NFTs are going to be burnt. But my point of of estimating a percentage is that even if it's 10%, that effectively means that everybody that remains holding those NFTs would get a 10% boost. In addition to all the volume that 10% is going to create. I mean, that's an enormous, that's going to be an enormous amount of volume if it were 10%. If it's 40%, obviously at 4x 10.
That's crazy. So the reason why I thought of it like that is because with X28 and TitanX, I think X28 has taken in, oh man, I don't know the math on top of my head. Yeah, maybe 20% is a better estimate, because I think X28, even before it launched on base, has taken in something like 10% of the supply of TitanX has gone through there and burnt itself. Maybe more than that, 15% or 20%, something like that. And that's just for base. So when X28 launches onto another chain, are we going to see another 10% or 20% of TitanX get minted into X28? So if we see the same metric over on ELMNT with 10% or 20% of the supply just for base, then once we launch another chain, are we going to see a similar pattern with another 10%, another 20% of the supply? So my estimate is the NFT burning amount will somewhat track the token burning amount. So if 10% of the tokens get burned, or 10% of the tokens mint into E280, perhaps we will see 10% of the NFTs follow just because of the rewards. That's just my logic for people watching. Might be completely wrong, but that's just my estimate.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's. I think dude said it'd be a few weeks. So, and that was last week. So maybe a couple weeks. So actually, in reality, it's probably more like a month, and that's okay. If you have a long time horizon, as we all need to, as big boys and girls in here, you know, then we should be okay with even if it takes a month. So
I mean, I feel like in a perfect world, like let's just say for the sake of argument, in a perfect world, we only launched onto 5 chains. There's potentially, I think, 11 chains Omnichain can launch on. But for the sake of simplicity, let's say we only launched onto 5 chains. And in the perfect world, let's say all those chains had great protocols on them. And there's a use case for the users to move onto those other chains as well. And more users come in from those chains, etc., etc.
Right.
Then I feel like in a perfect world, you would want to divide the supply up equally between each chain. That's probably not going to happen. What might happen is the chain that's considered the most valuable is the chain that will have the most people. So for now, that's Ethereum, obviously. If base is considered more valuable in the future, let's say there's just so many good protocols there, there's volumes going crazy, etc., then perhaps people will mint onto base. So I think it'll probably balance out, and whichever chain is considered the most valuable from a volume perspective is where we're going to see these ELMNT and NFTs flow into. That's what I think.
And Keto Natural makes a good point. The mint is an open mint. There's no close date. And that's going to be pretty cool. And you know what else that just hit me that is going to be attractive to moving on to the other chains? Is the gas.
Oh, massive.
I mean, it never even hit me till a minute ago. There's a temptation to move those NFTs over to base or some other less expensive chain. And that in itself is going to be a temptation for many of us NFT holders.
Oh, massively. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're seeing something really interesting with the ETH Gray right now because it's super low, which is bizarre. Like, I don't understand how it got so low. I'm not like that technical on that front of things, but we know for sure the gas on base is super low, right? Like the cost to transact is ridiculously cheap. So there's a great use case there with how cheap it is to mint onto there, because you can do transactions are super cheap, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to, I mean, is now a good time for me to share some, or are you getting ready to pull something up?
No, that's cool. We can transition to your stuff for a bit, and then I've got some other stuff as well, but we can take it in turns. That's cool.
Okay. I want to share, excuse me a second. I'd like to share a screen, and then I'll move to some slides, and then I'll go back to the screen if you're okay with that.
That's cool, man. Take it away, bro. Take it away.
Okay. And if you want to interrupt, if anybody wants to interrupt with questions, like the ones you want me to answer, just pop them up on the screen, and my attention will be, and you can obviously say something too. But I want to try you guys that. So the middle screen is the one I want to share.
The one, this one, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Let's go.
So cool. This is pTGC on the 3-day chart. I'm going to drag this down a little bit, but I don't think I've mentioned on this stream yet. I almost always try to start here with this statement. pTGC right now is not pTGC. Pulse right now is 50% of SAC price. It is literally half of what people paid to get their Pulse when it was in the sacrifice phase. And it has not been out of the sacrifice price, higher than the sacrifice price, but for maybe a couple months of its whole life. We suspect that it will eventually go above sacrifice price. Right? We know Richard Hart has a massive ego, and I don't think he's going to let his chain, flounder during this first cycle. And that's not financial advice. That's just me speculating what I think. And I want you to look. So I'm going to put this chart in terms of USD, zoom out a little bit. This is pTGC. And look what this token has done since, well, somebody showed me this morning. Like it looks like a flat line, right? It looks like a really flat, but if you zoom in, look at all the volatility in there, Okay, that's thing one. The chart is in USD. Let me reset this. Look how well it has been doing. I think it's up just since October, it's up 900%. Okay.
Wow.
But that's putting the chart in USD. And this is a lesson for people that don't know how to do this, because you can do the same thing with DragonX, TitanX, or ELMNT, TitanX. Flip the chart and I'm going to flip it to WPLS. We're going to see the price of pTGC in terms of WPLS. Now watch.
Oh my God, look at that.
Look how much this little token has moved up against the layer one, while pretty much the whole time the layer one has been going sideways. And we have a long chart history. Like I said, it launched in October 2023, and it has been moving up, pretty consistently the whole time. So I wanted to share that, because what do we think is going to happen when Pulsechain makes its move? And Richard Hart, I don't know if you guys know this, but Richard Hart is making moves. He's cut the inflation of ink. He's staking and restaking Hex. He is actively, he launched a meme factory. He's actively engaged in pumping his chain, and he has a lot of capital that he can inject. I think he's probably keeping that in his back pocket. I know I would resort to other methods to pump the chain. What do we think is going to happen to this little gem when the chain pumps? The last time Pulse moved 4x, pTGC moved 42x.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is. It's just nuts. And I'd like to flip to some slides now. So that deck on that screen on the right, if you would, please.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. I got it.
And then we'll just have to flip back to the moon math calculator whenever you're ready. And you can interrupt me anytime, dude.
That's cool, man.
Okay. One of the guys in our community, which is a big old, I think I look at him as like one of the OG Hex people. And he made this slide. And I want to draw your attention to the blue line, which is UFO, and the gold line, which is pTGC. The lines down here are Hex, Ink, PulseX, and Pulse. Notice how whenever there is a little bit of movement in upward movement in Hex, notice the exaggerated response in what we call the grays currencies, pTGC and UFO. It's like
It's crazy, man. Absolutely nuts.
And then Richard Hart is pumping his chain. He's pumping ink. He's pumping hex. I mean, yeah, man. You kind of guess what's coming, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
I got a couple other slides I'd like to show. So this is a drawing that I did of our liquidity web. And
Yeah.
UFO and pTGC. And UFO and pTGC are heavily bonded themselves. I mean, aside from Pulse, I think they have the thickest LP with them between themselves. Here's the feed distribution. You know, we've got the ELMNT has its own feed distribution. In pTGC, 2% goes to the DAO, 1% to stakers, 1% to holders and stakers, and so on. I wanted to highlight, I'm going to skip that one. It's about 57% APY on yield alone.
Wow.
And let's see, where's this slide I'm looking for? Those are some locking examples. You can lock pTGC. You can hold pTGC 3 different ways. You can hold it just to get the reflections. You can stake it to get extra rewards, and you can lock it. Now, I built this slide yesterday, Jukes, and I want to draw your attention to it because some of the people that you've onboarded to pTGC might be interested in seeing this. So if you want to take a screenshot, or I can send it to you later, whatever. And for any of the viewers that hold pTGC, this is valuable information, I think.
Okay.
So I mentioned that one of the ways you can hold pTGC is in a lock. And if you early, the lock is like, you can stake pTGC for however long you want. There's no time commitment. You can end your stake at any time. That's one of the beauties of it. But with a lock, there is a time commitment. And with the commitment comes a responsibility, or maybe a penalty. The penalty for early end locking is 30%. We have seen in the last year, we have seen that there's an average of 400 million pTGC being unlocked every month on average. Well, that's some valuable information to know going forward, because we have this moon math calculator, which I will show you, and we can project with a certain price. And if you have this average of pTGC being unlocked, and you can put in your own bag size to estimate at a certain price what you would earn in yield, because there's a big difference between reflections coming into your wallet and staking rewards coming into your wallet. Those two come into your wallet based on the price of pTGC today. The locking rewards come in based on token quantity, because those tokens have already been bought off the market and they're in somebody's lock. But this guy is about to unlock, and so so this guy, it's a hypothetical, and this is on a monthly. So this guy's gonna, and this is the average, 400 million tokens unlocked every month. So this dude is unlocking 400 million tokens. He's gonna pay a 30% penalty, which goes to all the other lockers. This dude here, your lock pTGC, is, you know, a hypothetical you that holds 100 million tokens in a 10-year lock. So you're going to earn 100% of all the locking penalty rewards that are possible for that bag. And the price is now 50%. So it's done like a 500x from where it literally is right now. This is future, to illustrate the power of locking. So the rewards coming into this wallet from this one unlock would be $147,000, predicated on the price being 50 cents.
Yeah.
As opposed to the reflections over here on the top right. I got my cursor on the screen like you guys can see it, but that's not true. So let me narrate a little better. Top right, reflections and staking. Volume, $10 million per day. And we haven't hit that yet. And we hope that we can sustain that or get an average of $10 million per day for a whole year. If that happened and you have 100 million tokens staked, notice it's the same amount of tokens. So I'm highlighting the difference between locking rewards and reflections and staking. Price at 50 cents. The reflections and staking rewards would be $3,600 in a 1 month time frame. versus
Wow.
$147,000 for locking rewards. Yeah.
So is the 147,000 per month?
Per month, yeah. If we hit that
Wow.
price, if you had that amount locked, and if that amount unlocks, and that, so the upper two up here are actually my bullish. That's a cow. I get that. I had to change it, but this is bull market conditions up here at the top. Let's look at bear market conditions. See the little teddy bear?
Yeah, we see it. We see it.
Okay, so this is speculated bear market conditions with a 95% pullback. Okay, people are still going to unlock. You know, we think we have a little bit of history to back up our claim that people are still going to, you know, perhaps unlock at any time. They're so random. You never know when they're going to happen. So people unlock.
Mhm.
Well, let's just say the average continues, and you are a hodler, so you still have your 100 million tokens in a 10-year lock, but the price has now dropped 95%. Well, you're still going to generate $7,000 in unlocking rewards when that dude unlocks.
Wow.
Versus bottom right, reflections and staking. So we're no longer doing $10 million in volume. It's $500,000 in volume per day. You still have your 100 million tokens staked. The price has dropped, but your reflections and staking rewards has dropped also to $180.
Mhm.
That's the power of locking pTGC.
That's crazy. Even $7,000 a month is a lot of money. So that's crazy, man. So is that value just determined based off the average amount of tokens being unlocked and then redistributed?
Run that question by me again. I'm sorry.
So that's fine. So you know the value here, like let's say the $7,000. Is that the amount is that coming from people unlocking the average value of 400 million tokens per month, and then that's getting redistributed back to So this is not even taken into account all the reflections we're going to get as well, right?
Right. Yeah. The locking over here on the left and the reflections, you would add those together. So if you have to be, in order to be locked, you have to be staked. And if you're staked, you're earning reflections. So that is a good point. So you're locking rewards and your reflections and staking. So you would have $7,180.
Okay. And as I understand it, when I was looking at the tax breakdown, there's a percent to just holders, right? And there's a percent to stakers.
Yes, 1% to each.
So when you stake, do you get also the holder reflection as well, or is that only for? Okay, so you get both. So you basically get 2%.
Excuse me.
That makes sense.
Yes. So not everybody stakes. So the staking rewards are more than the holding rewards. And what we've noticed, and we have 1 year of history from a test wallet that we've been tracking, is that stakers of pTGC tokens are earning 165% more than holders.
Wow.
Lockers are earning 230% more than holders.
Wow.
And that, you know, that's over the last year, but it does give you some indication of what might happen in the future also. And we will continue to track it.
That is thanks for sharing that. That's pretty insane actually.
It is.
Looking at that.
I know.
That unlocking metric is not. That's like over in the bull market conditions, that's like over like what 100, that's like 150% APR per month, right?
Yeah.
Like more than that. But if in a 1 month time frame, right? Like that's gotta be at today's price to then buy it and lock it, that's gotta be like over 100% you're making back per month. In the bull market condition with the price being at is in that price.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excuse me, it's a pretty exciting prospect. Let me see. I don't know that I updated my slides.
I'm gonna need to get some slides up for ELMNT NFTs soon. You've inspired me.
I built these in Canva.
Okay.
I used Canva. I didn't know that I could do such a thing in Canva. Let me there's one slide I want to show. to illustrate the power of. Sorry, okay. Here it is. The power of the Dow, and then I'll move to the moon math calc if you're okay with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So if we had this hypothetical $10 million in volume per day, and we think it can be done, it all depends on the network, you know. But with the Dow taking in 2% of the fees, and us, you know, the contract burning 0.5%, UFO burns 1%. When that contract execute, your UFO burns 1% of pTGC. So we have the potential, and this slide illustrates the power of the Dow. The Dow has the potential to burn $200,000 per day, just in the 2% coming into it. $50,000 of pTGC will get burned at $10 million per day. And then UFO burns another $100,000 if we have this $10 million of volume per day.
Wow.
If the Dow decided to, you know, just buy and burn pTGC and all of these other contract things execute like they're supposed to, and we have no reason to think that they wouldn't, because they've done it for a long time. This Dow has the potential to literally burn $128 million in tokens in a year. $128 million. And that's crazy. That's all sent to the dead address, which is a buyer that will never sell.
That's like a third of the market cap or something, right?
Yeah, true. The market cap, I think, is like 350 million right now.
Yeah.
BTC. And by the way, there's an ever increasing price floor, because the contract is always pairing pTGC with PLS, sending it to the dead address, burning those tokens, those LP tokens, out of existence. Oh no, we lost the host. You need to come back, dude. Where is it going with that? And you guys can still see me too, huh? Well, I guess the show is mine. Okay, Jukes. He says 1 second. Here he comes.
Am I back? There we are.
You're back.
No, what happened? My camera just disconnected itself. So
weird.
It just auto kicked me from the stream.
You didn't miss anything.
That's cool.
You didn't miss anything. So anyhow, we have the yeah, like you said, the $350 million market cap. We can burn literally $128 million worth of tokens in the burn address. You know, send them to a buyer that will never sell.
So that's what we love, man. That's exactly what we love in this ecosystem. Burn those tokens, bro. Yeah. Actually, one question I have on this regard is,
Please.
So is pTGC is it fully capped supply? Like, how does the initial mint go for tokens? Like, what was like the distribution? Is it fully capped now, or is there more distribution? How's that work?
It was a fair launch. Capped supply, 333 billion, 333 million, 333,000, and so on. And it's deflationary. With every transaction, the supply deflates. We burned like 11.8% since day one. So what I was getting at is that with that, you see that 0.5% that burns pTGC, that goes to a dead wallet, and that constantly increases the price floor. And there's a constantly increasing price floor, and there is no price ceiling for this token. That's one of the hangups that people have, is like, well, it's already done so many exits. It's already over 300 million market cap. You know, I missed it. Pulsechain is still below sacrifice price. You know, so no, but that was a good one.
Yeah. Pulsechain is still below SAC. And I remember when everyone was stacking for Pulsechain and Pulsex and stuff, everyone had these predictions of 100x, 10,000x, or whatever. I mean, if you think that's possible, I don't know how you can't be bullish on pTGC. Like, it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, if you're bullish on RH core coins, you have to be bullish on this by extension.
The average layer one does something like 650x its first cycle. You know, let's speaking of that, let's pull up that middle slide again, and we'll go through the moon math, and then I can be done with my monologue.
That's cool, man.
This is lookintoptgc.com. It's a paid site, but there's free stuff on here. If you guys want a subscription, just reach out to me privately, or you can buy it on the site. Sweet. Me and the developer work together on this site. So we're going to click on Moon Math, and we're going to do, like I just mentioned, that average layer 1 does 650x. But we're going to be really modest, and we're going to see what pTGC could do if Pulse does a 100x. And then there's something else that the founder of pTGC coined, which is the X factor. Have you heard of the X factor, Jukes?
Is that the X factor that pTGC will do in relation to its ratio to PLS? Is that right?
Exactly. So in the last year, pTGC has done a 57x against Pulse. Since August, we hit 1-to-1 in ratio with Pulse on August 26th. And right now we're at 20-to-1. So we've done 20-to-1 since the end of August. So I'm going to input a modest X factor of 10, because I think that we can at least do a 10. I hope we can at least do a 10x against Pulsechain, while Pulsechain does a 100x. And what this calculator is going to do is show you the price of pTGC, what it would be in this scenario. And spoiler alert, it's going to be 10 times 100. Okay, so do 10 times 100, and that's going to be 1,000x. Okay, from where it is right now, and let's calculate.
So crazy, man.
And it would put the price of pTGC at $1.10.
Wow.
Which is 1,000x. I mean, if you think Pulsechain has 100x in it, if you only think it has, let's say if it has a 25x, and pTGC only moves up against it at a factor of 5, well, that's going to be a 125x or a 14-cent pTGC.
That's insane.
It is.
I mean, and that shows you the power of liquidity bonding, guys. That is the power of bonding those LPs, like I was showing you in my diagrams. When those LPs are bonded and they're thick LP, all you don't need any buy pressure on pTGC here. You only need it to do a 5x. So the buy pressure is enough to do a 5x, and it's in its ratio to Pulse. And then if Pulse is bullish and it does a 20x, 50x, etc., you're literally piggybacking off all of that price appreciation. That's exactly what's going on here, and it's the same thing for ELMNT 280 as well. And TitanX, the whole TitanX ecosystem with the building TitanX stuff, it can all do the same kind of metrics. So it's so sick to see this stuff, and I'm so bullish, man. This stuff is going places.
Yeah, the people that you brought in, I mean, they're going to be, well, this is all just, I tend to get really excited. I can be a little bit of a moon boy, but when you've got chart history, it establishes it helps your position. Well, let's look at some reflections, because I showed you in that locking calculator, what we could do at certain volume levels. So I'm going to demonstrate pTGC and UFO at certain volume levels. And I got to go into experimental mode here. Give me a second. And we're going to set the volume at $10 million. And both pTGC and UFO have had $1 million plus days already. Back in December, we had them. And I think we're going to have more. I hope we're going to have more, because the volume is what pays us, So this is pTGC at $10 million in volume. And this is reflections only. This is not counting. Remember, your staking rewards are 165% more. Your locking rewards are 230% more than that number right there, 15.46% APY. And then if you scroll down, this sample wallet is a shark. And he would earn $205,000 a year on his reflections only. And then if you take that 205 times, if he was staked and locked, times 3.3, it'd be $676,000 of passive yield coming into his wallet just for holding these tokens and staking them.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
That is just, it's just absolutely insane. By the way, shout out to you guys, man. This UI and this website is really sick. Like having all these calculators on, I think it's a really bullish thing because it allows users to come in and then speculate on what they think could happen, and that creates FOMO for users. So shout out to you guys. I think that's a really good addition to the pTGC community and ecosystem.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The founder is a friend of mine, the builder of this site, Crypto Kong, if anybody you guys know him, but
I think I follow him actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's one of those guys that wakes up and dreams about spreadsheets.
You always need some of those guys, man.
Yeah, you really need them. Okay, UFO, $10 million in volume. That'd be a 45% APY, and that's reflections only.
Wow.
So you can do two things with UFO. You can hold it, and you can LP it with RH tickers. If you hold it, the APY has been, at least in the last 9 months, it has been 93% for holders, and for LP providers, it's about 50%.
Wow.
So, but this speculates that it'd be 45% APY, and then the yearly yield on that would be $581,000 on this $1.3 million position.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a shark position. Wow.
Yep, he's a shark. And then, like on this UI, you can scroll down and it shows you the different sea creatures and breaks it down for you, you know, what they would earn. So this dolphin, which is $104,000 worth of tokens, would earn $46,000 in a year on reflections. And hopefully we can get the LP rewards built in there at some point. But
wow.
Yeah, man, that's about it for the moon.
Yeah.
You've got some moon stuff.
Well, I actually didn't get time to calculate it in fully, so we might have to calculate it live on stream. But if you want, I can go over to show a few more of the bits I was going to show for the viewers, and then perhaps if we have time at the end, we can do a bit of moon math as well for ELMNT, because there's a lot of similar moon math, particularly with the price of the token and the appreciation of TitanX and the other tokens on TitanX. So what I'll do is I'll just bring that up now. So we're going back to my diagrams.
There you go.
So here we are, back with the diagrams. So what I was going to show is I was going to break down, guys, just from a very fundamental perspective, what you want in the token. And actually, a lot of the stuff that Prairie Banana just shows fits into all of this stuff really nicely. And I'll show how it fits into the stuff with pTGC in a second, and ELMNT as well. So when I'm looking at a token, this is just like my basic understanding of economics, but like obviously you want supply to be going down, and you want demand as well. When you have like supply dynamics going down and demand going up in economics generally, this means the price of whatever asset is going to rise. Okay, so this goes for any asset, but it also goes for obviously cryptocurrency tokens as well. Okay, so keep this in mind. These are the two of the main metrics I'm looking for when I'm looking at any token. And then this kind of breaks down like this. So this is still a fundamental level. I'm not talking about any particular token here. But if we look at the supply side of things, from my perspective, we want believers to hold the coin. Okay, so we want them to be able to believe and hold. If they just buy and sell, it's not as good as them buying and holding. Yeah, this is something Richard Hart has really installed in his community with that long-term gratification mindset. Is to believe. You need holders to believe, right, etc. Then you pair that with locking tokens. Okay, so this is another thing Hex did, right? It got people to lock up 15 years, etc., etc. And this locks in the believers. So this is all reducing the supply. Okay, so when believers hold, then there's less supply on market to buy, and when believers lock up their tokens, obviously there's less supply to get now because it's locked. And then there's also burning. Presuming it's a cap supply, if you can burn the token, then you're reducing the supply as well. Okay, so on the supply side, that's really the main things I'm looking at. When it goes to the demand side, this is the way I look at it. So you have these three main metrics here. So one thing that was introduced through Pulsechain into the DeFi space is this concept of buying and burning. And we've seen TitanX really take this concept to the extremities. And if you look in the TitanX ecosystem, so many protocols are taking this to the extremity. For example, Oryx, which just launched their USDX mint now, I believe. They have 100% buy and burn on their token, meaning that if you went to mint Oryx with TitanX, 100% of that TitanX is going to buy and burn Oryx. So we've seen this kind of idea of buy and burn be taken to the absolute extremities in the TitanX ecosystem, and it's something absolutely ridiculous. We'll get into this on the ELMNT stats when I show you. And then you also have programmed buy pressure. I've separated them out because technically you can have programmed buy pressure that's not a burn. So I just wanted to show you that these two things are things we can create demand in a token, right? The other demand here is from LP bonding, and this goes to like pTGC is bonded to Hex, is bonded to Pulse, ELMNT is bonded to TitanX, is bonded to DragonX, is bonded to Hyper, etc., etc. This kind of programs demand into the token itself because obviously, like we showed you in that moon math, you can see that this token is going to gain the price appreciation of the token it's bonded to. So it has kind of inherent demand by having thick LP with those tokens. Okay, so that's what the demand side is, the LP bonding. And then there's also utility, and in utility I basically put yield here as being the main thing. Like with pTGC, you lock it up, you gain yield. With Hex, you lock it up. With TitanX, if you stake it, you gain ETH when there's mining profitable. So there's some level of utility there as well. And utility extends far beyond that. Like utility could simply be buying the protocol because you need to get another protocol. So for example, if pTGC going up is going up, that's probably bullish for Pulsechain, because if people want to get into pTGC, they need to get into Pulsechain, right? So they need to bridge over value to Pulsechain or buy Pulsechain off the market, etc., etc. So simply having the ability to use this token as a resource to buy another one is a form of utility, in my opinion, right? So that's like at a very fundamental level what I look for in protocols. Okay, and this is for any protocol. This is not just ELMNT or pTGC or whatever. This is when I'm looking at anything, this is what I'm looking at. Okay, now what is pTGC's approach to this? And we'll look at ELMNT's approach in a second. So with pTGC, as Prairie Banana showed you guys, the tax structure is broken down like this. And what this tax structure does is it incentivizes and it plays into this whole structure I've just drawn out for you. Okay, so this is the tax breakdown. You can see that's a 0.5% burn, 0.5% goes to the Liquidiy wallet. They'll get 2%, stakers 1%, and holders per stakers 1% as well. That's a 5% total tax. Okay, so that's built into the protocol. And then this feeds into pTGC in the following ways. Okay, so there's the whole thing there. I'm going to zoom in and show you guys each section as it is. So on the supply side of things, obviously incentivizes believers to hold because they earn reflections just by holding, right? Prairie Banana just gave us an absolutely amazing breakdown showing the calculator, like the amount of money you could potentially make with UFO or pTGC just by holding the token or staking it, etc. And then also believers could hold because of this LP bonding thing, because they know they're getting the demand of the other token simply by holding this token. And then there's potentially more upside because if there's buy pressure on this token, it pushes up. So I put this as a reason for believers to hold the token. Okay, and then you also have this locking aspect. So with pTGC, of course, you lock the token to stake it, and you earn potentially ridiculous rewards. Again, for those tuning in just now, Prairie Banana just showed us how insane those rewards can be, and that's a great incentive for users. So all of this stuff deals with the supply side of it. It's bringing down the supply, which is really bullish for the whole ecosystem and the whole token. And then of course there's burning due to the tax. Okay, so this is again reducing the supply, etc., etc. Okay, now when we look at the demand side, I broke it down like this. So with the buy and burn, I put UFO tax there. I maybe could have added the DAO stuff there. I didn't actually take that into account when I made this, but potentially DAO will be added to the burn. But also the UFO tax. I almost said UFC. There's UFC coming up soon, so it's on my mind. But the UFO tax is obviously going to be added to this buy and burn on pTGC, and then with the LP bonding, like Prairie Banana showed, like it's bonded to pDAI, PLS, Hex. So if you believe in these tokens and you believe these tokens are going to go up 50x, 100x, pDAI is going to go up 100x and hit $1 or something, then you're getting all that demand back into your token because your token is bonded to them. It's going to get all of that price appreciation automatically without anyone buying the token. Okay, And then obviously people buy the token, then it pushes it up even further. And then with utility here, I put the yield you can get from staking it, locking it, and holding it, etc. So that's a way of giving a demand to the token. That there's some utility people can buy the token to get that ROI that we've all had a look at. So that's how this structure builds into pTGC. And that's why I think pTGC is an extremely bullish token for anyone in the RH ecosystem or outside of it. I think it's an extremely bullish token for those reasons. And then looking at the ELMNT approach here. So ELMNT has a tax structure as well. So the tax structure on ELMNT works like this. So it's 4% total tax, and it gets broken down into these kind of bubbles here. So you have the Helios DAO getting 0.2% of the tax, Genesis with 0.6%, and then NFT holders get 2.4%. So this is almost equivalent in the ELMNT ecosystem to staking and locking of tokens. It works functionally quite similar to how it works in pTGC. There are differences, of course, but you have these NFTs that lock tokens, and also if you hold the NFT, you gain the reflection basically to claim. And then also there's the burning aspect here, and how this feeds into this whole thing here. I've painted it out here for you guys. Is like this. So we'll look at the supply side first. Firstly, both pTGC and ELMNT are cap supplies, so that's really important to understand here. But why I would believe this hold, I put the main thing is the LP bonding with ELMNT. You're bonded to the TitanX ecosystem, the whole ecosystem. And if the ecosystem, I mean, TitanX is it's a tiny market cap, right? That thing goes up 10x, 20x, 50x, 100x, then you're gaining all the price appreciation as we've already seen. And then the locking tokens here go to the NFTs. So the NFTs themselves lock substantial amounts of the supply. We'll get to this in a second. I'll show you the supply stats. It really locks huge amounts of the supply up, and it's an absolutely amazing addition to ELMNT 280. And then with the burning, there's actually two burns here. So there's the burn tax from buying and selling, and there's also the buy and burn. So people might have forgotten there's still the buy and burn V2 that's built into the ELMNT 369 protocol, and that feeds into ELMNT 280 as well. So you get the buy and burn from that, and you also get the burn tax. And this is on basically a cap supply. So you have a hyper deflationary asset here. And then you have these reasons for users to lock the tokens and hold the tokens, and tokens are going to be burnt. So when you look at the supply stats for ELMNT, guys, it really is crazy like how much supply is available to actually get. There's not much liquid, there's not much available because so much of the supply is locked up in NFTs and also been burnt. So on the demand side, we have quite a few bits here. So with the buy and burn, you have buy and burn V2. Okay, so like I said to you just before, with the ELMNT 369 buy and burn that feeds into ELMNT 280. You also have the programmed buy pressure. So this is from the Stacks buy and burn, guys. Stacks is going to be having basically a perpetual buy and burn. It's going to be constantly filled up because Stacks has all of these different stakes in the TitanX ecosystem that feed into the buy and burn for Stacks, and Stacks is bonded above ELMNT. So Stacks is bonded to ELMNT, and then basically what happens here is the Stacks buy and burn is first going to, it's an X28. It's going to buy up ELMNT, and then it's going to buy up Stacks and burn it. So it's programmed buy pressure into ELMNT 280, and that also triggers the arbitrage. It triggers the tax. So there's a burn from the tax, but there's also that programmed buy structure there, buy and burn. Cool. So that's that. Again, with LP bonding, I don't want to like be being a dead horse here. I've mentioned this a million times, but it's the exact same thing with like pTGC, but you're bonded to obviously TitanX ecosystem tokens. So you've got TitanX, DragonX, Hyper. There's a bunch more. I mean, this thing has so many LPs, I've lost count, but like those are like the main kind of three in the ecosystem. Obviously, you have Helios, you got Inferno, you got Blaze, you got so many tokens here that it's bonded to. So if you're bullish on those, then you have to be bullish on ELMNT. It's just the way I look at it. And then on the utility side of things, you've got basically this. So the yield is for the NFT holders. Okay, so this is great because it keeps a substantial amount of tokens off market, and potentially when the volume picks up for ELMNT, then these NFTs will start making a bunch of more money, and then that creates more demand because people would want to buy off those NFTs off the open market. It's the only way to get them. And Then also I put these two here. So as I mentioned before, if you need one token to get the other one, then it's bullish for that token. So the stacks is a protocol built on top of ELMNT 280, as I previously explained. So if stacks goes up crazy in price, then it drags up ELMNT 280 because people need to buy ELMNT 280 first to get into stacks. Okay, so there's a bit of utility there. And then also minting E280. If anyone wants to mint the Omni-chain version of ELMNT, it's not live at the time of this live stream. But when this does come out, if anyone actually wants to mint E280 Omni-chain, they first need to buy up ELMNT themselves. So they have to buy ELMNT and then mint E280. So this all feeds into the structure here, okay? And this is showing you guys the different approaches both pTGC and ELMNT have made. But you can see that even though the approach is different, they've both taken a unique approach, but they've achieved very similar results. They've got people to lock tokens. There's program buy and burn. There's all these different factors, and a lot of them are quite similar. That's why I like these tokens, because they have very similar dynamics at play. Right, guys, I've been talking for a minute there, but we've got the stats breakdown here. And I wanted to show you guys the power of the buy and burn on ELMNT 280. Just look at this. I took this screenshot earlier today. 54.2% of all the tokens are burned. I mean, how the hell is that a real stat? Over half the supply is burned. Can you imagine, guys, when we get E280 launch and then people have to mint E280 and that burns like 30% of the ELMNT straight away? I mean, the amount of burning that it's going to happen is it's ridiculous. And then look at the NFT backing here, 30%, and the liquid is only 7%, and the LPs has 6%, which shows that the LPs are very, very thick.
And the LPs have been growing consistently.
Yeah. So for those who aren't aware, the Helios DAO had a vote because they had a bunch of tokens in their treasury with a bunch of ELMNT. So if you remember back here, the Helios DAO gets hacks. So the Helios DAO had a bunch of tokens, and they decided it was best to add those to the LPs with the other tokens they had in the Helios treasury, which really thickened the LPs. I thought the LPs were fine before, but now they're absolutely ridiculous. So you can see 6% of the supply is actually a very thick amount to have. And what you can do on the ELMNT website, guys, is if you click this burned icon at the bottom here, you can get rid of the burned supply just to look at what we have now. And that is crazy to me. I mean, look at the stats without the burned. You can see the power of this NFT backing. Like the power of this NFT backing, 66% of the supply is effectively not minted because it's locked in the NFTs. Look at that. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane? Yeah. That is, I mean, I just have to marvel at that every now and then. I need a drink of tea, guys. My throat is feeling a bit.
Yeah. Tea will do that too.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that you could I've forgotten that you could deselect those.
Yeah, you can deselect them. And I like to do it because you can actually see with the supply we have right now, how much of it's backed by the NFTs. And you can see 66% of the supply is ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. So what's going to happen when we go omni-chain? I don't know, but it's going to be crazy. The amount of more tokens that get burned and stuff like that. And then you can look at the pTGC one as well. So pTGC looks like this. So they've burned 11% of the supply through primarily tax. And then staked and locked is 41%. So unfortunately, the pTGC website, I can't get rid of the burned. So I can't show you what it would be like without the burned, like I did with ELMNT. But you can see here still 41% of the supply is locked away. So the stats look super similar between these two. I don't think this one shows me how much is in the LPs, but you can see that the held is 19.3% and the staked is 26%. So yeah, super similar supply stats. Obviously with pTGC, perhaps a lot more users are holding the token simply because they still get reflections by holding. So that's their strategy they've taken. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on the differences here and, you know, everything I've basically narrated?
No, that's all. I love the pie charts. I mean, they illustrate the ecosystem very succinctly.
Mhm.
And I've been tracking the I don't know if you guys know about my spreadsheet, but I got a spreadsheet for Element, and I've been tracking all of these stats, like the NFTs that have been burned, the token supply, the LPs, and like I commented a minute ago that the LPs have been growing. And I think what did we just reach over? Is it $1 trillion? Yeah. We just went over $1 trillion like just a few weeks ago, and we've been staying above it. Now we're at 1.19 trillion. And that
Wow.
to me smacks of a healthy ecosystem. That the LP is consistently growing,
Yeah. So yeah, 1 trillion tokens locked in the LPs is crazy. I mean, the liquid supply is something like 2.7 trillion or something like that.
On the pie chart, it says 1.36.
Yeah, 1.36. Yeah, so if you added the LPs all together, right? But
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So so you got 1.36 liquid and then 1.1 in LP.
That's beautiful.
So that is ridiculous. Absolutely insane.
Well, that's the community pulling together and saying, "Hey, I'm going to participate, and I'm going to lock up. I'm going to put my tokens in an LP, because I want this ecosystem to be successful." And
Yeah.
I've done a bit of that. I've done quite a bit of that.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that's come from the Helios DAO as well. And then I think the token when it launched, it had the buy and burns, which kind of built the LPs and stuff like that as well. So yeah. But yeah, I was thinking, should we do some moon math? I'm gonna have to do the moon math completely live. Let's think how we can do this. Let's do this. So let's make some assumptions. Hold on, I need to get my.
I don't think I've ever seen any Helios. I mean, Element 280 or Element moon math. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's make some assumptions. I'm gonna assume right now. Let's just assume that the ELMNT to TitanX ratio is 0.5. It's a bit below that now. I think it's like 0.4, but we're just going to assume it's 0.5 just for the ease of calculation. So that's our first assumption. And let's assume TitanX does let's be modest, 50x.
Okay.
I feel like that's modest. What else? So let's assume we're X factor. Let's assume ELMNT gets to a. What should we do? Let's assume should we go with like a 10x ratio wise?
Exactly. Ratio-wise? What I was thinking.
So that's pretty modest. So that's basically so if this happens, then that's basically a 500x on ELMNT. So what you do there is you literally just combine them. I mean, 500x, guys, that's pretty crazy here. So basically how I got to that conclusion is Titan does a 50x. Okay, so you get 50x, which is just going to happen to ELMNT because of the LPs that are bonded. Okay, and then you also get the 10x, not plus 10x, but this is going to be multiplied by the 10x.
There you go.
Because the X factor is giving it 10x above that. So all ELMNT needs to do is get to a 5-to-1 ratio with TitanX. And if it just holds that ratio and then TitanX does a 50x. So the market cap of TitanX now is what? Let's just see this. The market cap of TitanX is 36 million. So let's just see 36 million. Let me do this. Times 50. What's that, like 36 million? Sorry guys, my mental math. 108. Is that like 1.8 billion around that? Am I right? I think that's assuming that. Yeah, I think that's. Let me just do this on the calculator. Yeah, 1.8 billion. So that's assuming that TitanX gets to a $1.8 billion market cap. So if you believe that's possible, and some people believe that's more than possible, some people think it's going to exceed that, and ELMNT just does a 10x, then you get a 500x on your tokens. So again, I like a bit of moon math. It'll be sick if we can get a website built that does these calculations for you, just from a user perspective, because I don't think people understand the math behind this stuff. But a 500x, that's big gains, and
It is.
it's similar to what you were showing, you know, like with pTGC. So yeah, I'm bullish on it, man. I'm bullish on the ecosystem, so I'm bullish on ELMNT. It's just the way it is.
500x is where that $50 that's been sitting in your claimable rewards for your NFTs suddenly becomes $25,000. $50
Exactly.
$25,000.
So if anyone's out there and they're like, oh, I'm only making like $20 a month on my NFTs. Okay, so if this was to happen and you're only making $20 a month right now, times that by 500, and you're making $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
So think of it, guys. Think of it. I know people are like bearish and everything, but
that's where stacking those tokens comes in really handy. I mean, I can tell from other people's experience in the on the pTGC side that, you know, there were people that, you know, they lost belief in the system and they sold tokens and they sold yield and they exited their positions and this and that. And guess what? A lot of those guys are buying in now higher. They thought they could, you know, sell and go play a meme and get and lever up on a meme coin or something. And then they're buying back in, you know, and they lost their whale position. Now they got to be content with the squid, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just don't kill your bags. And this is why I say to people, if you're going to invest in something, believe in the fundamentals. Obviously, we love moon math and stuff like that, but the main thing is, you know, the fundamentals of the project and why they work. That's why I wanted to break everything down for you guys on a fundamental level. Because if you can believe in the fundamentals, then you're incentivized to actually hold the token, even if things are bearish or whatever. I believe people going into a token with that mindset are going to be better holders than people who go into it just because they saw a green candle. That's my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
I've stated this a number of times. Something I heard, I didn't actually hear him say it, but I heard that RH stated this on one of his famous streams. He says, there is this thing, this human nature thing called recency bias. And what happens is we most recently came out of a bear market. So our tendency is, our recency bias is the bear market. And we tend to relate everything to that experience, which was rather bearish. And we've forgotten how bullish a bull market can be and how exciting and how volatile crypto can be in a bull market. Well, the contrary is going to be true. And we're coming out of that bull market. Our recency bias is going to be how bullish everything is. And going into a bear market, and we'll have forgotten how bad the bear market can be.
Yeah, the bear market is rough, but that's actually a great like little kind of thing to say there, because the recency bias is a real thing, and it affects people in outside of crypto, like in so many different ways. So it's definitely something to take into account, guys. The things can moon. I know we've been in a bear market for so long, but mooning is still possible. Right?
Yes.
So obviously don't base everything off moon math, but it's not that it's completely not possible. Obviously not financial advice. These are our own opinions. And I think Utah Crypto put in a good little message here about stacks. We can potentially times this whole number by 5 with stacks, because stacks is built on top of ELMNT. So if stacks 5x is its ratio on top of ELMNT, then you can essentially times this by number by 5. I mean, my mind is blown.
Nice.
Yeah. And a little message here from Keto Natural. If anyone is worried about burning their NFTs for Omnichain E20 NFTs, there are plenty for sale right now on Titan Farms. Yeah, so I think there's like tons. Someone put on a bunch of NFTs on there, and they're at a pretty decent price. So yeah, if anyone wants to scoop up NFTs, there's literally an opportunity right now to scoop them up. Yeah, man. I think that's mostly all the stuff I wanted to go through. I don't know if Smooth and Crypto wants to come on for a minute and discuss some stuff with his protocol. But
Sounds like if
I've
he's
gone
available,
through,
he would.
yeah,
There's
I
only
think
there's only 8,500 NFTs available, by the way.
yeah, you know, and I think as soon as things go bullish, like you were saying about the recency bias, no one wants to buy anything right now because people think everything's so bearish. But as soon as things flip bullish again, I believe my personal opinion is those NFTs are going to go for sale very quickly. They're gonna disappear because you can't get them anymore. And yeah, you can come on, bro. I'll just send you the link for it. Just give me 1 second.
There you go.
Those NFTs are going to go for sale, and then there's not going to be any left to buy. So
That'd be great for the NFT sellers and for the buyers because they're going to be buying a passive income machine. You know, like last cycle, the NFTs were art, and this cycle, it seems like the NFTs they're art, but then also they have an income generating machine in the background printing you money day after day.
Yeah.
What's not to like about passive income?
Yeah, and with those NFTs, like they have a rarity aspect to them as well. So
Yeah,
I think they could sell above their mint price, I believe, quite easily once things get bullish again because they're just not, you can't get them. So
yeah, that's probably going to happen. Hopefully,
what's going to happen to these supply stats when we get Omnichain E280?
Oh man,
Oof.
I'm going to keep tracking I take a daily reading of the ELMNT stuff, you know, and I'm excited once we go on Omnichain to see what the difference is going to be. There he is.
What's going on, Smooth?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
We're doing good, man. Better now you're here.
Hey, you guys have been going on for a while, so shout out to you guys.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, putting in the work.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see kind of, you know, how you guys view things, how you guys are saying about the macro, right? The moon math and stuff like that. It's patience, right? I mean, it really comes down to everything you're saying, really comes down to just patience and having conviction. And I think you guys are talking about some really serious, solid projects, and it's looking great in my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you. Smooth.
Yeah, of course. We've been going back and forth for a little bit, so it feels good to be on stream with you.
Yeah, likewise. Your hat, your flare hat.
Yep.
It's a little different. Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, I mean, it might be reversed, but basically upside down it says flare.
Okay, it is reversed too.
Yeah,
it's upside down and reversed from my perspective.
Yeah. So this probably reads better, you know.
Yeah, it's catching. There you go.
There you go.
It's catching. The graphics designer didn't make a mistake. It was on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Smooth, bro, any updates on Flare, like where it is, where it's coming, how its development is looking, etc.?
Yeah, so both audits came back really solid, really clean. Everything's been fixed, which is amazing. We've been testing like crazy this past couple weeks, and everybody says it's pretty much ready to go soon. I mean, it's 99% of the way there. I think that last percent is just like will never be there, right? It's all testing at that point and just trying to break the system. But I mean, it's been going really, really well testing wise. So, I don't want to make an official launch date, but it's really soon. And I think it's looking really good with how the TitanX ecosystem is looking right now with the USDX launching, and we're having a little bit of a pump. And I mean, we only have to finish above 30, like 6036 for another green weekly candle, which is amazing for the chart and everything. So couldn't be a better time to launch. And hopefully we did catch somewhat of a little bit of the market low the past couple weeks. So it's looking really good. Long story short.
Yeah, man, that's good to see. And guys, Smooth showed me like the UI behind the scenes. I can't wait for this protocol to launch. Like the UI is just, I want that tab open on my laptop. Like I want to be looking at that UI. Prairie Banana, I can't wait for you to see it, man. It's absolutely amazing. Like top notch.
You must have had help from Dude to build your UI.
We might have the same designer, but I kind of designed it. So
yeah,
we'll see. I think it's if I stay on the rest of the channel, I'll definitely give you a little sneak peek, Prairie, for sure.
All right.
Wait, let's do that. Yeah, that's sick. And I can't wait to when this thing launches, I'll do a stream and I'll show like the UI. I'm sure the users would have seen it by then, but it's just, I think having good UIs is so important. And yeah, man, I think you've done an absolutely amazing job in this. So well done to you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and I have two trains of thought with the UI, right? One, I wanted mine to feel like a wallpaper on your computer. That's what I wanted. You could just keep it up and make it look really nice, and it's just cool, right? And then two, I mean, how many times have we heard of a coin, got excited about the tokenomics, right? We get to the website, and it's just kind of like either underwhelming or terrible, and then you almost feel like you don't want to invest into it. But you go to you hear all good things about it. You go to the website, and it's just amazing DApp, and the UI looks great. You're like pumped to invest in it. You're pumped to show people it, right? You look at it all day, right? So just wanted to be really nice looking, eye appealing, and just kind of create a little bit of trust and style to the coin, if you will.
So that is important. That first look. There are some good projects that have a clunky, if I can put it that way, UI, but it's you want a piece of that project, but the UI is clunky, and it's just known. But if you have both, if you have great tokenomics and a fabulous looking website, it's like fire,
Hell yeah. So I'm hoping that's what I did with Flare. I think overall the website looks really nice and the tokenomics are really solid. It does have a long minting phase, so it's a very fair way to get out the tokens, I think, but also it's going to be 11 weeks of just non-capped amount of tokens. So it's, going to be a long 3-month road before it's fully capped. But people with conviction, all these tokens are OFT, so they're going to be able to go omni-chain. And
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What is OFT?
So it's omni-chain fungible tokens. So basically, this is a thing that added some time to Flare as well, is these tokens are going to be layer 0. And so all of the tokens starting on ETH, if we go to base, all of those tokens come from the ETH. If we go to Arbitrum, all of them come from ETH. So this initial set of tokens is it. If I do anything on any other chain, it's going to start from these tokens, basically.
That are going to be minted in the first 11 weeks.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know if you're familiar with Flare, but every Friday you'll be able to mint just like Inferno, AlienX, whatever the case may be. But during the week, it will be auctions rolling. So it's going to start with 1 trillion in the auctions, and you're going to be able to mint on Fridays for 11 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, I love the perpetual auction system you guys got going. It brings in more tokens for buy and burn and all this stuff. So I think it's a really sick addition to these protocols, because you haven't got that worry about what happens when buy and burn goes dry or what happens when this goes dry. Like, because you have that auction that's always running, it's just going to keep on bringing in more economic value to the whole ecosystem.
Yep, exactly. And so 48% of everything that comes in through the minting and through the auctions is going to be bought the next day and stored into the auctions. So if $1 million comes in, 480 grand is bought that next day over 180 calls. So it's a lot of program buy pressure, not to mention the buy and burn, not to mention the tax on it, right? Not to mention the liquidity web, right? I mean, there's a ton of buying that's happening constantly. And I really just wanted it to be as much program buy pressure, as much as we can put back into the token and create a solid, buying thing, I think that's the most important for what I was trying to aim for.
There you go. What's the input token, or what are the input tokens?
So Ethereum and TitanX.
Okay. Like a 50-50?
Well, you do whatever if you want. It's only Ethereum or only TitanX. So if you want to just go in with ETH, you can do that. If you want to just go in with TitanX, you can do that. But 76% of everything that comes in is going to be auto minting X28. So it's going to be pretty powerful.
Whoa. Nice.
Yep. So 38% burn basically on everything that comes in, but keeping a lot of the economic value within the system still, which is pretty crazy in my opinion.
Did you ever think you'd be a founder?
No, definitely not. No, but I just, I always thought like I do a lot of like building and remodeling in
right.
In the real life, in the real world. So I've always been kind of that. And I think overall, I've been in crypto a long time, and conceptually you think like, if I did something, this is what I would do. But then the more years you go on, the more like that idea morphs and grows. And what started out as a very simple, like, this is what I would name it. Now it's like, we're talking liquidity webs, we're talking buy and burns, we're talking, like perpetual auctions. Like, it just grows and just creates such a massive difference in your brain, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did you get the idea? Like, did it hit you one morning in the shower, or was it or did it grow slowly?
Yeah. So kind of what happened was I was initially going to do Inferno 2.0 on top of Inferno, right? I was going to build a project on Inferno that was like basically Inferno, right? But I was like, that's not really that worth putting money into, whatever, right? So it was like 2:30 in the morning. I'm at my girlfriend's place in the kitchen, just mad scientist, pen to paper, just had this idea, just throwing it all down, grinding for like 2 hours, just trying to figure out like what it is, you know what I mean? But I just had the idea really late night and went downstairs and put it on a piece of paper. Yeah.
Wow. What a story, man. I mean, are you, this might be a little weird, but like, are you naturally a night person? Because you are.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
okay.
I typically go to bed
now.
Yeah. I typically go to bed, like no earlier than like 11 in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes what happens, and I think I get this from my dad though, is I wake up in the middle of the night and I just have like thoughts that I just need to get out of my head before I can like go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And
they rattle around. If you don't put them on paper,
exactly.
You're never going to get any sleep.
Yeah.
Well,
like I just have, notebooks next to me at all points. Just like,
yeah.
It's hardcore, man.
Yeah, exactly. So
I carry a notebook in my pocket.
Yeah. It feels better when it's on physical paper. Yeah.
I'm the same, but with diagrams.
Forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I've been trying to consolidate the diagram you sent, Jukes, so I could put it on the white paper, because, it's a solid, having the diagram, if you're not like a reading learner, a visual learner helps you like, okay, this percentage is rolling into this, that's going to that. And I think that really helps for white papers.
Yeah, no, that's I'm glad that helps, bro. And I've even been thinking myself of doing it for you guys, like getting these diagrams, getting like a professional designer to like use Canva or use some professional software to actually make them pretty, like make them look good, and then roll them out to different founders so they can put it on their white paper websites and stuff, and have a whole visual breakdown for the users. I think that's a useful thing. I've been thinking of doing that actually.
It's not a bad idea. I think if everybody struggles with diagrams, even though they're very simple and straightforward, it's like you want them to look so good, and sometimes you just can't make them look good. I don't know what it is. It's just a very weird thing with diagrams, and I think it could be a niche for sure.
Definitely. I think anything in design, bro, like designing anything, I think just get professionals to do it. Like they do it their whole life. Like one of my uncles is a designer, like he's a graphics designer, and the guy can just instantly see a good design, a bad design. It's like in his own nature. He can do it without thinking about it. He's been in the industry for like 20, 30 years. He can just do it without thinking. It's his nature, it's who he is. The same way we can look at crypto, we can understand its complex things and we understand it quite easily. You know, I think leave that work to the designers, because they're the ones who are gonna do a great job with it, you know?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
If it's within your means to do that. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. If you have the means,
you want to outsource whatever you can afford.
Exactly.
Mm.
Delegation.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's good, man. Do you have any thoughts, Smooth, on like some of the stuff we went through, and perhaps how Flare, like, you know, with if I go back to my thing here, like perhaps how Flare like builds into this system here?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm more than happy to do it myself. Like one day we could do a stream and I can do the similar breakdown.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, I think. But overall, I mean, 8% of everything that is coming in is for liquidity webbing, and I love how everything's going over there with you know, Pulsechain, the pTGC stuff. It all looks just so good. I mean, the chart just speaks for itself. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But one thing they have is the liquidity webs, and I love the liquidity web, the bonded liquidity. So that was like very important for me to have in Flare. And what I'm going to do is probably have capped deflationary or high volume pairs, but mainly I'm going to concentrate on just straight up the deflationary tokens within TitanX. And hopefully, you know, with being OFT, I could be on Pulsechain having pairs with them, be on base having pairs over there, right? That's kind of my idea, is like, although it is starting on ETH, my plan with OFT is like hopefully take over a good chunk of all these chains if you can. And if you're starting everything over here, building the liquidity web, especially at lows, it could be really, really powerful as things start rising.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, so I just heard the announcement for the OmniChain stuff just now. You mentioned it for the first time. I haven't heard it before. That is sick, bro. So this is going to be like fully fledged OmniChain from the start. There's no need to do any one-to-one minting stuff. It's going to be OmniChain from the start. So Flare is going OmniChain.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I think if we do anything else, I mean, obviously everything I do, I'm going to benefit Flare. I mean, that's just kind of the way I think it should go. So being able to be OFT will really bring a level of like, maybe I shouldn't dump these auction tokens that I'm getting a little ROI on, or maybe I should mint, you know what I mean? So I just want it to be like a reason for you to hold them, not only for the tokenomics, but for an expansion, for OmniChain, for being on Pulsechain base, right? Like all of this stuff starting from ETH. I think that could be really powerful. And I just know 1 trillion tokens in the auction, right? It's going to use 11% of the auction balance every day. They're going to be big auctions and there could be big dumps. So being that growing narrative of OmniChain could help everything, in my opinion.
But even with the dumps, like it's going to give volume to the tax and stuff. So that's kind of the cool thing with the tax tokens, is even when there are dumps, you know, it's still feeding the machines, it's still feeding the ecosystem. And I think for those who don't know, the way I understand it is Flare is going to be an LP web, but to the hyper deflationary assets, that's going to be its primary focus. So Flare's probably going to be bonded with like Inferno, bonded with DragonX, bonded with these like Phoenix, stuff like this, Matrix, like these like hyper deflationary assets that potentially could see huge price upside. And Flare is going to be specifically bonded to those ones. You know what I mean? So
trying to create the most leverage as I can. And with these cap deflationary tokens, when they start going, they really start going. So if you're bonded with all of the deflationary stuff, right, it could really help the growth of your token, right? If it's rising that side, you're going to rise right with it. And being bonded across not only the TitanX ecosystem, but across multiple blockchains, bondage wise, that could be something really, really powerful over time. And I've always, I mean, if you guys watch my content, I say 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. I've always said that. And that's what I'm building for. I'm building for that 20-year mark. And what that looks like, I have no idea. But I just want to be ready for that.
We have a funny question here from Utah. When Jukes token, bro? Honestly, I don't have any token in the pipeline, but who knows? Maybe one day there will be a Jukes token. That will be a wicked dream to live out. So maybe with the coming months, I'll put something together. But right now, I don't have anything in the pipeline. But that would be a sick idea. Maybe one day, maybe we'll get a Jukes token, a Lambo token. We'll be living life.
Jukes Lambo.
Yeah, Jukes Lambo token. I quite like the sound of that one. Yeah, that's jokes. It's good to see Utah is still here though. Utah's an OG. Like Utah's such a good guy, man.
Yeah, I've had him on stream a couple times. That guy he's a good dude for sure.
Yeah. Bro, how do you feel? So I actually have this question for you because you're in properties and stuff as well. I don't know about the like situation where you are in America with like property prices and stuff, but in the UK, in London specifically, but across the UK, like the property prices have gone like absolutely insane. If you bought properties in the 80s, 90s, or the early 2000s, your return on investment is absolutely ridiculous. And now my generation in the situation where like the price of properties is so expensive, like no one can afford a house anymore. Like it's got to that level, right? And I was thinking, like, do you think we're in a similar situation now in crypto where, who knows, like in 20 years, 30 years from now, people are going to be looking back and be like, holy crap, those guys bought those tokens for what? They got 1 million tokens, 1 billion? They had 1 billion tokens, you know? What's your opinion on that? Do you think we're in a similar situation with the crypto market in general, or do you think, you know, things could look different?
Yeah, well, I truly think, right, like you could even bring it farther back, like people who bought houses in the 1930s, 1940s, right? Now that's 70, 90 years from then, right? Those people are like up like hundreds of X's, right? I mean, they bought a house for like $400, you know, like something crazy like that. Yeah. So to your point, we are so early. Crypto's only what, 15 years old or something like that. Like I've always said, like, I can't believe I'm going to be a grandpa, right? And kids are going to, like, the grandkids are going to be like asking me about crypto and how I was like so early on, or I'm the grandpa that never invested into crypto. And they're like, what are you doing? You didn't put anything in? Like, what? Like, so I think to your point, we are so early, even at these prices. Like we like think like, okay, this return was a 2,000% return, which is insane, right? But what does that look like 20, 30 years from now? Like that is like minuscule. That's, you know, possibly what, 7 cycles? Like that's insane amount of time. And, you know, time in the market is the most important thing. And we're going to be exposed throughout that whole entire time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think your mindset of thinking in decades is so important. I try and hold the same mindset. I think if you can think in decades, then you can be a dangerous individual, you know, with how you do the world and stuff. And you can get a lot of insane gains. I mean, people who are buying properties like we just said. I mean, I have a funny story for you actually. My grandfather, when he moved to the UK, I think in the 60s or 70s, back then, like the 70s or 80s, he had so back then he bought a camera, which is a classic, like it's an amazing camera, it's a Nikon. And at the time, the price of the camera was the same as the price of a house.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? Isn't that ridiculous?
That's insane.
I mean, I don't know the value of the camera, but I feel like I don't know the value of the camera now. It is it's a retro piece. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I feel like we're in that situation with crypto. People be like, you bought a laptop for $2,000, you didn't buy this token back then. You could have got this many tokens for $2,000 back then.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or you know what I mean. Like I just think if we're looking at it on a macro level and over a 10-20 year time frame, and this is not specific to any ecosystem, this is just crypto in general. I think I honestly, I believe we're in that situation, like with crypto.
Yep. Yeah, I really think if you pick tokens that have a solid community and solid tokenomics and a good founder right now, 20 years from now, no matter what coin it is, right? As long as the community has some good conviction, you're going to be solid. The time is going to take care of itself. And there's a lot of great stuff that's being built right now that is really gate kept and underlooked at. And it's almost a blessing to be this early in stuff. Even if you don't invest, you never invested early on. You take the tops right now and you just keep slowly DCAing in years over years. Like, it could get really crazy really fast.
I heard a guy at the top of the last cycle. I heard an audio clip. He was bawling out. I mean, he was using really strong language to an audience. And he was like, if you don't get into crypto, I hope you are ready to apologize to your children and your grandchildren. And he was really firm on it. And I was like, oh, man, glad I'm paying attention.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, when I first got into crypto, it was 2016, right after I graduated college. And for whatever reason, I always knew about crypto, like Bitcoin. All I thought was like Silk Road, right? It's for use illegal stuff, whatever the case may be, right? But the moment I graduated college, I was just like, I watched like one video and it just like blew my mind of just a change of perspective on what it is. And since then, I'm like, there's nothing I really need to invest in besides this, in my opinion. And the real estate's cool and this and that, but like this stuff long term is going to be it. And I knew it since then. And, you know, we're 3 cycles since then. And like, for everything I've thought back then was correct. Whether I got certain gains here or there, the overall thesis was correct. And it's only going to get better with time.
Yeah, and hopefully more secure, so less of us are wrecking our bags or getting scammed or all those innumerable things that can happen if you're not perhaps quite paying attention. You know, I think it'll be better for the people coming in, but like Jukes and I were saying, like the gains that we stand to make as the trailblazers are going to be greater. When a lot of those safeguards are in place, perhaps the gains will be less, you know.
Yeah, but you know, that also might be bringing in a lot of traditional investors that won't necessarily get into something because it's so wild and unregulated. And you know, my buddy, he owns a little bit of crypto. Everything he owns is on Coinbase, right? Because he has that, like, if something happened, like they would help me, right? If I lose something, they would help, right? That's like his thought on it, right? And so stocks, that's why he's in heavy into stocks, because it's all regulated. He has the, you know, so much help on the back end. Exactly. And I said, well, that's the exact opposite reason why I'm into crypto, because I want to take hold of my future and my finances. Like, I don't want the regulation, right? I don't want the red tape. So like we're completely opposite. He's one day older than me. You know what I mean? So it's like, we just, our mind frame and our headspace is complete different. But he's like, I still have to be exposed to some crypto though. You know, he's like, he's not that dumb. He's like, I still got to have a little bit. Like,
yeah.
You know, learn by experience.
On that point, we were talking about the houses and stuff. I just realized just now, even back then, like if you go back 100 years ago, 200 years ago, those times, if you were buying land, you own everything, bro. You know what I mean? If you're buying land and you own land back then, now you're just living life. You've set up not just your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids. You've set up everyone. So I feel like every like time there's always these golden opportunities of different things. Maybe it was gold like 100 years ago, or maybe it was land, and then maybe it was property, maybe it was buying Nvidia stock, like maybe it was buying Monster stock, maybe it was buying Tesla stock, whatever. But every time there's a unique thing. Maybe it was buying Bitcoin 10 years ago, Ethereum, etc. And on a macro level, I think crypto is, we already know it's the most highest price appreciating asset class in the whole of history. And if you position yourself in this space now, it's just bullish, in my opinion, on a macro level.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And the even crazier thing is some of these tokens that we own are constantly giving us more of the tokens if we just hold it, right? Like, I mean, or there's more burning happening and our ownership is going up over time. So it's like, these tokenomics long term are so bullish that you can't even comprehend how, you know, you're like, you know, this guy has 1 billion tokens. I only got 10 million. But in reality, like 10 million tokens of any granted crypto 20 years from now might be insane. You just absolutely have no idea how things are going to play out.
Yeah. And Smooth, you've actually, Pro, like, what was your like burst cycle in crypto? Is this your first? Is this your second, your third? Like, how long have you been in the game? I was just curious.
This will be my first full cycle going from bear through bull. I bought the top of the last one.
Yeah.
I started with Litecoin and Solana and Bitcoin and Ethereum in early 2020, I think it was. And then maybe it's 2021. I think it's 2021. And then when I discovered Hex, I aped everything into that. And then from Hex, I went to I still hold my Hex, but I've been through Hex, Icosa.
Yep.
And then Zen, I got into that. TitanX. And then pTGC. And I just kind of, when I get into something, I really get in heavy and I learn all about it. And I ape in, and I've done a lot of aping in on many different projects. Kind of just landed on pTGC because I think it's going to be a real game changer for, you know, on the Pulse network. You know, being one of those. You know, when I saw it, I was like, whoa! You do a double take, like when you see Hex, like, oh, this is innovative. You know, and TitanX too, of course. I love that. I followed Jake all the way from when he was making all those tweets. I mean, those hundreds and thousands of tweets. I've got a project coming. You guys are gonna love it. Ooh, can't wait.
Yeah,
Day one.
Back in the days.
Day one.
Yeah.
Day one. Did you do a mining ladder?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I did more max miners than anything, which was a great call in my opinion. But I did some shorter term mining ladders, and that's what there was one person that was asking me, should I get in or not? I said, dude, I don't know if you should or shouldn't get in. I said, but because I went in, I already got my money back from it. I'm in profit and I have all of these miners happening. I'm like, so I was like, I don't want to tell you what to do. I said, but this stuff that's happening over here is really interesting. And it's making me like really, really think about it. And if that's the case of a token, usually it's pretty solid. Not saying what I think is perfect, but like when I just can't stop thinking about something, there's something there. And that was just one of them that, you know, day one, I saw the white paper. I was like, yeah, this is unreal. Like I read it like 20 times, 15 times. I was like, I love this. Looks good.
Yeah. Yep. I did the same thing when it came to TitanX. I was like, this is good. And then when ELMNT 280 came out, after my experience with pTGC, I was like, oh, I'm paying attention to this one. And then it's one of those, like you said, it kind of keeps you up at night, you know, excited. You go to bed, go to sleep thinking about it. Those liquidity webs. I mean, the very thought of the token that you're holding that is deflationary and you have a position in it. So, you know, as long as you hold it, your position will continually inflate. And then at the same time, it's paying you passive income. Does it get any better than that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it'd be cool, you know, for Flare, right? You know, it's not a reflection token, but over on different blockchains, right? I could do a reflection token that you put input with Flare or ETH or Pulsechain, whatever the case may be, that, you know, gives you reflections of Flare, gives you reflections of other things. And, you know, it just, you start with one thing and everything you build after that just keeps growing it. And with these LP webs, I mean, we've only really scratched the surface, right? We've seen them really work, but we've really only seen them scratch the surface because they've really only been a thing for a few years at this point. And so what do LP webs 20 years from now look like? That's like incredibly different.
Yeah, I mean, because an LP web requires capital input.
Yep.
You know, and what are we about to make? Presumably in this cycle, capital. And I know the founders of pTGC they put a lot in to get it going. Let's put it that way. And I know other founders that have reinvested a lot of capital. So what's going to happen over here with these webs? You know, people got extra money in their wallets and they want to build their liquidity web. Well, they might have the ability to do that, you know, in this cycle. And then we could have some, like going into the next up cycle, some massive liquidity webs, or you withhold a little bit. Actually, at the top of the cycle, you withhold a little bit, and when the market corrects, then you snipe that bottom and expand your LP web.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when prices are really down, right, it's never about the amount of the price per token. In my opinion, it's about how many tokens, because the math works itself out later. So you can get some really heavy coin amounts at bottoms, and I really like that for an LP web.
Definitely, yeah. And as you guys are saying about recency bias and stuff, people need to remember that like everything is cyclical. Like it's gonna go up, it's gonna go down, you know. And when it's up, the recency bias is this is the best thing in the whole world. When it's down, everyone's like, oh, it's mega wrecked, it's super finished, it's never coming back. This is just how people operate. But what people need to remember is at these low prices, when new tokens launch, they can get so much cheap tokens into their protocol. And with these LP webs, like Pereira was saying earlier, you can build like huge, thick LP when the market price is low. So it looks like, oh, there's not much there. But when things do flip back and they go positive, now it's like, wait a second, there's 500K in this one LP, or there's a mil in LP. Or like Pereira was saying, like if this stuff goes up crazy, there's 100 mil in this LP. Like it can get absolutely ridiculous, but it wouldn't have got that entry if it didn't get that entry at a low price.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And think of a coin that has 50 LPs on it, and this one rips, which brings up, like, say you're the main token that's paired with everything. If that rips, all these other rip, or vice versa, and every single one of those LPs is sitting at 1 million, 10 million, 50 million, billion. Like it could get really insane long term, and this stuff is just waiting for boosting and capital and growth. It's so small that it just can really go.
And that's not to mention of the arbitraging that goes across those pairs of the AMM bots correcting the
all
prices
day, 24 hours a day.
And if they're paying a tax, you know, they're paying that tax 24/7.
Literally,
so bullish. It is so bullish. That's why I had to have a piece of Flare as the LP. I mean, with being a tax token, with having many LPs and really constant ARB everywhere, it's going to really create a lot of, deflation, coin pressure, possible growth, right? So I just love the thought of LP webs. It just creates so much stickiness and game theory within the ecosystem.
Do you guys know where the first LP web came from? I have an idea. Like, I think it might be a Tropa, but does anyone here know like what the first LP web was?
That's what I was thinking.
Where the concept came from?
No, the PTGC,
I think it might be a Tropa. Yeah.
The PTGC dev studied, not dev, but the founder studied the Atropa ecosystem pretty extensively, or got the idea from them. And so you'd have to ask. It'd be interesting to ask the founder where he got the idea, the founder of Atropa.
Yeah, if we can. I think the founder of Atropa is an anonymous one, isn't it? There's the conspiracy.
Well, he's not anymore. His name's Maria. He came out. He's public, and he's got a chat, and that he's pretty active in. Okay. So I guess you could actually kind of just reach out to him. Hey, where'd you get the idea? Did you get it from another project? Would be my what I'm curious about.
I love how quickly like the innovation in the space happens. Like what the LP web thing came about on Pulsechain, like with the Tropa. That's my first knowledge of it. And then you get PGC that launches, and you get all these different tokens that take on this idea. Then it goes over onto TitanX, for ELMNT, and all these different things. It's so interesting to watch how the space expands. Maybe A1A. Yeah, I think A1A and Atropa may have been the first ones that came out.
Yeah,
but then they don't have tax, and then PGC came in and added the tax element to it, and all these other stuff. So it's just, I love watching the innovation.
I'm pumped to see what it looks like long term. That's like the biggest thing. I mean, I hate to harp on the long term aspect, but like that's just what my brain goes to, because we know the narrative and we know what it looks like right now. But that's what keeps me up when I really start thinking about stuff, is like, how can it progress? How is it going to get better? How is it going to be more sticky? How are these pairs over time? How much growth is one side going to bring all the other sides? Like, it's so many questions to really just battle back and forth.
And okay, this is not related to the LP web stuff, but I just wanted to ask, are you guys keeping track on the USDX minter? Oryx went live. I think I just had a quick look. Something like there's now 1.4 trillion TitanX in there and 20 billion DragonX. That's that's around 500k of TitanX and 54k of DragonX. So
I mean, we're seeing it sick. Like from the time we were on here, TitanX has went up 7%, 6% or something, and it's starting its second weekly green candle. Now it's in green, and that's awesome to see. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but that is a lot of TitanX and DragonX already taken out.
And yeah, it's crazy. And when TitanX goes up, like a lot of the other protocols go up. I mean, ELMNT is up 8% right now. You know, Volt is up 20% in 6 hours. Like, wow. But it's up 10% over the 24-hour time frame. You know, things are starting to move up, which is super nice, because when Titan goes up, everything just drags up.
Yeah, I'm pumped. It's awesome to see, and you know, this stuff is so early. It really is still. I mean, we went through a crazy influx of tokens. Now we're dropping. We're over 56% burned. Right? It's only going to get more burnt over time. There's only going to be less tokens. So yeah, I'm pumped to be in some great ecosystems. I'm going to be honest.
Let me actually bring this up for you guys. I want to bring this up before we call it a day, but I want to quickly pull this up.
Yeah, Gwei is less than 1 right now, which is unreal.
Isn't that absolutely crazy?
Yeah.
Okay, ignore the dodgy lines. I'm not a TA guy. I just like to draw lines every now and then. But yeah, so we're right here on the TitanX. So this TitanX price chart, and this is on the daily. Let's just expand this out. So this is where we are here. So on the daily, we're now, this is the USD price. But you can kind of see we kind of hit the bottom like a couple times. Hit it, bang, hit it, and that's like almost like a triple bottom. Like, I'm not a TA guy, but that looks like a triple bottom, and we're now on the green candle. So super sick. And then if you look at my lines here, these need to be adjusted basically every day. But you can see the break even miner price is roughly around here. So that's 5028. That's nearly a 10x. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but that's nearly a 10x. Just to get to break even on miners. And then if you believe the miners will get to 100% ROI again, that's, what's that? 5056 roughly. Wow. This does change every day because the cost to mine goes up. You know, what's the price gains just to get to 100% ROI? Let's have a look. 1,456%. So what's that, like a 15x? 14x. Yeah. So 15x back to 100% ROI, and then once we get there, you know, if we see a huge influx of ETH back into mining, then we might get another crazy. I mean, that to me is already bullish, but then you can get even crazier parabolic runs. And to 100x the price off the very bottom is basically back to our previous all-time high. So if you are buying Titan right at the bottom, just to get back to our all-time high previously is roughly 100x. Roughly. So that's interesting stuff, guys. Just thought I'll share that. I'm not a TA guy though, so if you want TA, then there's better people than me for that. Just thought I'll share that for you guys.
More of a, I call it macro alpha. That's what I call it. Just thinking about what's going on, what could happen long term. That's all that's my niche, if you will.
Elementary macro.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm on the same lines. I was actually saying this to my parents the other day, like, because I watch so much of these TA guys, I know a lot of the words they say, but I don't know what they mean exactly and what they do.
Sure.
Like I was saying, like you could imagine you're like out in public on the phone, and you're just like pretending you know all this stuff. You're like, yeah, man, the golden cross came in on the MACD, and then if you look at 1334, it looks super bullish. Like people around you probably thinking like, damn, this guy's a G. Like this guy
He's
knows what he's
making
talking
money.
about.
Then you throw in a dead cat bounce, and then you're gonna be like, huh?
Yeah, like I was looking at the chart, like it's looking like an inverse head and shoulders.
Yeah.
It's like a cross signal, like this thing's ready to pump, and then people be like, "What the hell, man? What's pumping? Like, what's gonna happen?" You know, I think that'd be funny as hell.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, guys. Well, we've gone for 2 hours 30. That is insane. I think that's one of my longest streams. But what an honor to share it with. The Prairie Banana and Smooth and Crypto came in at the end in the last like half an hour, 40 minutes. Guys, it's an honor. I am gonna call it off now. It's been going for a good amount of time. We could do part 2 on this. Like I'm more than happy to do more stuff. But yeah, man, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you to every single person who's come and watched the stream, supported. You know, we see the same people here. Miss Whittle, we've got Keto Natural. Obviously Utah, obviously Smooth himself. So I appreciate every single one of you who came on to support us today. We actually hit a good amount of live watches, which is super like sick because I'm just streaming this just me. So I think this is the highest like amount of people that's just come in to watch me alone stream. So I'm really grateful everyone who came on. I'm grateful to Prairie Banana. I'm sure we'll do more in the future. And Smooth. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really, really good time, and it was great to stream with you as well, Prairie. It's been a little minute since we started contacting each other, so pretty pumped to make this happen, and hopefully it's not the last time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a pleasure to interact again.
Let's get it.
Sweet. All right, guys. Take care. Everyone in chat, wherever you are, have a good day. If it's morning, evening, late for you. I hope everyone has a great day. And yeah, man, I'm watching the charts. So take care, guys. In a bit.